Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Sakura gets to know about Naruto parents part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Sakura Haruno's first mission. From the private and encrypted journal of Sakura Haruno, there are many tenets for a shinobi to live by. One of the most important is know thy enemy. Accurate and reliable intelligence has helped win battles time and time again. Sometimes it has been the deciding factor. Other times, it helps keep down the casualties. I've thought long and hard about why I want to be a ninja. Having a chance with Sasuke Uchiha is part of it, but I also want to help Konoha. I want to be a kunoichi on a par with Tsunade Senju. That is my dream above all others. Tsunade is the marker by which I intend to measure my progress. I may never reach her level, but I intend to try all the same. Whether I go into the main part of the shinobi forces, or into the medical corps, or even ANBU, she will be my yardstick. While I've already started at the academy, I'm doing this journal because I want to create, for want of a better term, files on ninjas of note around here. I like to think of this as practice in intelligence gathering. Many of them will be classmates. Others will be ninjas of note in and around Konoha. My parents were surprised when I said I wanted a bingo book for my birthday, but they eventually took it as me taking my career path seriously. They just thought it was a bit too seriously for someone my age. I'm 10 years old. By my age, both Itachi Uchiha and Kakashi Hatake were chunin, and Itachi was soon in ANBU. I am no prodigy, but 10 years old is not too early to take the path of becoming a ninja seriously. I've always been a bit too serious. A few kids say my forehead is too big because I do too much thinking. Others just say that it is too big. It's better to overthink things than underthink things. What ya doin', Sakura? Case in point, thought Sakura with a sigh. If there was ever a prime example of someone who underthought things, it was Naruto Uzumaki. Indeed, he was one thing a ninja should never be: loud. Loud in voice, loud in dress. You couldn't deny his enthusiasm. But where stealth and thought were concerned, well, that was another matter entirely. He was also a troublemaker extraordinaire, and on more than one occasion, her parents had warned her, rather ominously, to stay away from him. She didn't know why they had done so vehemently. Naruto was a pain in the derriere, true, so much so that his picture would be in the dictionary under the adjective annoying, but truth be told, she saw little actual malice in him, just an annoying attention-seeker who seemed infatuated with her. Blonde-haired, short, with weird, whisker-like birthmarks on his face, and an infatuation with ramen. That, plus loud and obnoxious, summed up Naruto Uzumaki pretty well. Writing in my journal, Sakura said, trying very hard not to snap at him. She liked peace and quiet, alien concepts to Naruto Uzumaki. As were things like academia, but I don't understand the words. They're not even words at all, they're numbers. Naruto exclaimed. That's the point, Sakura said exasperatedly. I am writing an encrypted journal. Encrypted? Naruto said, spelling it out with a puzzled look. Sakura nearly berated him, until she remembered that they hadn't even covered basic encryption in class. Not yet anyway. Encryption means using a code to keep things secret, she explained, trying to be patient. It wouldn't hurt for him to know what encryption meant, this early. Besides it being an important tool for a ninja, the truth was, Naruto probably needed all the help he could get. I get it, Naruto said. You could have just said that. But that is a brilliant move, Sakura. I should make an encrypted journal of my own, to write down my pranking plans, databeo. That's not a bad idea, Naruto, Sakura said tentatively. Not that she wanted to encourage his pranking, but if he learned a new skill vital to being a shinobi in the process, well, it wasn't that bad, was it? Her cipher was a fairly easy one, combining the Polybius square with ROT 13, 1, so she could easily translate it in and out of the cipher in her head. And it meant that it was safe from a casual glance, or even a mild attempt to break it. Eventually, she decided to teach him ROT 13. It was a simple substitution cipher. She knew it was going to take him a while to get it. He struggled with many things academically. But other things, he seemed to grasp almost instinctively. And you had to admire his energy, enthusiasm, and sheer tenacity, if nothing else. Thanks, Sakura. Naruto enthused with surprisingly genuine gratitude. It didn't seem like he truly understood ROT 13, but it seemed like he didn't care, that he was going to work day and night to master it. Sakura smiled slightly. His tenacity and drive was admirable. Not really a friend, but certainly an incorrigible kid who, as far as she could tell, had done no real harm. Then, she smirked, a little evilly. She had her first subject for her espionage files. The first step to doing so was to gather more information. Originally, she had been considering using Sasuke as the first subject of her files, but to tell the truth, the last Uchiha was distant, at best. Which was somewhat understandable. From what she knew about his family, his entire clan was wiped out by his older brother, Itachi. She didn't know what it was like to lose one's family, let alone in such a brutal manner. But while few ninjas would be able to ask a person about themselves in the field, it would be a good start for her practice files to be able to interview the person in question. Sasuke tended to be loath to speak to anyone. She wanted him to open up to her, so that they could be friends at the very least, but the most she got out of him was a sullen, apathetic grunt, which seemed to be his standard means of communication. But Naruto was the exact opposite. Even this early on, she had heard him repeatedly and loudly declare his intentions to become Hokage. So interviewing him would be easy, well, as far as getting him to agree to such a thing. Getting actual information other than his intentions to be Hokage and his worship of ramen might be a little harder. Not that she started out by talking to Naruto. She first asked her parents. They immediately got concerned, and wondered why their daughter was taking an interest in him. This got Sakura intrigued, and she began asking questions, only to be told, to her astonishment, that an S-rank secret was involved. Only the Hokage, the leader of Konoha, could divulge it. Anyone who did divulge it could be executed. They merely reiterated that she should keep interaction with Naruto to a minimum. She couldn't fail to miss the anger in their eyes as they said this, as well as the restraint on said anger. And that an S-rank secret was involved. If there was one thing that had gotten Sakura intrigued, it was a mystery. It wasn't that she liked Naruto per se, it was that she wanted to get started on her kunoichi career, and what better way to hone her skills in espionage than to uncover the truth behind the mystery? Sakura had heard of the saying curiosity killed the cat, and was well aware that too much curiosity in the field may lead to an untimely demise. But this was Konoha, and uncovering the secret shouldn't be as lethal, right? Sakura didn't want anyone to die, so it wasn't like she was going to have anyone divulge the secret. One of the frequent tenets of shinobi was to look underneath the underneath, or look for hidden meanings nestled within each other. And sometimes, hidden meanings could be within the most obvious of places. One place that Sakura thought she would start with was the name, Uzumaki. She had never heard of a clan or a family with that name, but surely there'd be records? It took a lot of searching in the library in her free time, but she found finally references to Uzumakis other than Naruto. They were once a prominent clan of Uzushio, the village hidden in the whirlpools, and noted for their prowess in Fuinjutsu, or sealing. And one of the most prominent was one Kushina Uzumaki, who had the nom de guerre of the red-hot habanero. It was weird though. Uzumakis were apparently known for their red hair. Naruto was very much a blonde. She didn't know much about how genetics would work, at least as far as the dominance of hair and eye color. Bloodline limits were another matter entirely, but she would have thought red hair was dominant to blonde hair. A quick study at the library showed that this wasn't the case. Red hair was recessive, and would lose out to another color too. Was this the secret? Or anything related to it? There was something to this, she felt. Uzushio was the ally of Konoha, at least until it fell from a combined assault from Iwa and Kiri, an assault that had cost the invaders almost as much as the invaded. Because Konoha had been unable to come to Uzushio's aid in time, though, they combined the whirlpool spiral symbol of Uzushio with the leaf symbol of Konoha. Was the secret that Naruto was the last Uzumaki? Sakura didn't think so. For all the wisdom of hiding something in plain sight, that also didn't quite rank an S-rank secret. Knowing that the last Uzumaki was here wasn't that big a secret. Naruto was allowed to scream his name from the rooftops, so to speak. Nothing in the files and history books she had found suggested that the Uzumakis had disgraced themselves. They had fallen into obscurity, rather than dishonor. But maybe one of Naruto's parents had dishonored Konoha that way. Maybe one of Naruto's parents had done something so awful, he or she had been subjected to a form of damnatio memoriae, the destruction of his or her memory. 3. That could explain the dirty looks, not to mention the S-rank secret. But who could the disgraced parent be? She thought briefly over the worst nukenin that Konoha had produced. The only one that came to mind was the infamous Sannin Orochimaru, and she dismissed that possibility fairly quickly. Orochimaru may explain the hatred towards Naruto, but Naruto didn't have the black hair of the snake sage. It wasn't completely beyond the realms of possibility, but extremely doubtful. Did Naruto know of the secret? Sakura reckoned that this was unlikely. It was a gut feeling of sorts. But what was it? Inspiration and epiphanies happen sometimes under the least likely of circumstances. And sometimes it happens when something that is obvious is presented to you. All that's needed is the connection. They were sitting through a history lecture. Most of the time, Naruto didn't listen to these, she noted, except today, when they were running through the histories of the Hokages, the leaders of Konoha. They had just reached the last part of the fourth Hokage's reign, before he died, and the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, had to reassume his office. Their sensei, Irika Yumino, was speaking about how the fourth Hokage had defeated the infamous Kyuubi no Yuko, the nine-tailed demon fox, when Sakura noticed his eyes flickering over to Naruto as he did so. And their other teacher, Mizuki, had also stolen glances at Naruto. No, not glances, Sakura realized. He was trying not to glare at Naruto. Her epiphany, her realization didn't come straight away, not as it would for some. No, it was more slow than that, like an irritant in an oyster becoming a pearl. It wasn't until Naruto mentioned that his birthday was coming up while trying to get Sakura to visit him that the flash of realization came to her. His birthday coincided with that of the Kyuubi's attack. She found herself looking at Naruto again, noting the whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks. And a chill ran down her spine. Unlike what she normally did when class let out, which was to go straight home, Sakura went to a place she had never been to before. To the Hokage's office. She was surprised at how swiftly she was let through. She would later learn that the Hokage was a man who welcomed any distraction from the paperwork that oft threatened to consume all of his time. And it was a novelty for a would-be ninja from a civilian family to want to see him. She was struck by the paternal air of Hiruzen Sarutobi, but one could not forget that he had to be powerful to become the Hokage in the first place. He may be old, but he would still outclass even Jounin, never mind an academy student who was still at least a couple of years from becoming a genin. Ms. Haruno, is it? He asked. May I ask what an academy student wants with me? His tone was kindly, albeit with a touch of bemusement. She hesitated, wondering whether she should go through with it, before she resolved that she wouldn't falter. Hokage-sama, I came here because I am worried about something I discovered, the reason around an S-rank secret. A secret about Naruto Uzumaki, and there it was. A narrowing of the eyes, a hardening of the gaze. This was the man given nom de guerre like the professor, and the god of shinobi. After a pause, he activated some sort of privacy seal. Why did you come to me? Sakura gulped, before she said, I wanted to know whether I was right in my assumption, because I did not want to end up blurting out a secret that could have me executed under your law, Hokage-sama. And what do you believe to be the secret? That Naruto has a connection to the Kyuubi, that he is some sort of embodiment of it. That is why the older villagers hate him, isn't it? And how, pray tell, did you come to this conclusion, The Hokage asked, in a tone that was rather dangerous. So Sakura, reluctantly, confessed. Not only how she used these disparate facts to come to the vague conclusion that she did, but also why she did so. She was wondering whether she had just sunk her chances of becoming a ninja for Konoha. After all, civilian-born students tended to have a lesser chance than those born to clans of making genin. After she had finished, the Hokage fixed her with his dark, penetrating stare, from underneath his distinctive, wide-brimmed hat with the symbol for fire on it. That was, after all, what Hokage stood for, fire shadow. Eventually, he said, I will ask you, Sakura Haruno, how do you view Naruto now that you know that much? I don't know, Sakura confessed. I mean, he's a pain and a troublemaker, and I wish he'd stop pestering me at times, but he's not like the Kyuubi. If he is the Kyuubi reborn, then he doesn't seem to have any of its evil. And if he is just a prison for it. So you think he may be a prison, rather than a reincarnation of the fox? Yes, Hokage-sama, Sakura said. It was one of the possibilities she had considered. Which is what he is, the Hokage said quietly. He is a Jinchuriki, a human prison for the Kyuubi. When the fourth Hokage fought to stop the beast, he could not kill it. From what I understand, the tailed beasts, even if they are killed, merely reform after a few years. So, he chose Naruto to seal the Kyuubi into, at the cost of his life. His wish was that Naruto was to be seen as a hero of Konoha, for keeping the beast at bay. However, I have not always been successful. The old man sighed in sorrow. While most of the villagers merely treat him with contempt and shun him, a few have made active attempts to murder him, even though to do so may risk the release of the Kyuubi. But that is not the only factor. Jinchuriki are coveted as weapons for the hidden villages. I do not want Naruto to become a weapon, but to become a shinobi of his own free will. But others tend not to be so lucky. I know that Jinchuriki often lead lonely lives, and despite his enthusiasm, Naruto hasn't been much of an exception. That he has turned out the way he has is miraculous. But make no mistake, if word gets out of what he is, especially to other villages, they could try to kidnap him. Sakura didn't trust herself to answer. I see in your eyes that you understand the gravity of the situation, though I dare say you understood some when you realized that you had uncovered part of an S-rank secret. The Hokage peered at her. Curiosity is no crime, Sakura, and the fact that you did this to hone your skills as a future kunoichi is admirable. But you must realize that you have stumbled upon dangerous secrets. The only reason why I told you the whole truth is that by stumbling around blindly, looking for information, you nearly drew attention to Naruto's secret. That you came to me first was a wise decision. Telling Naruto about it would not have ended well for either you or him. Why not tell him? Sakura asked. If he has been hated or shunned all his life, surely he deserves to know. He does, and I will tell him when the time is right. I was considering telling him once he graduates from the academy and becomes a genin. Remember, Sakura, there is a difference between a kunai and a sealing scroll containing a kunai. The Hokage's expression softened. I'll tell you what, Sakura. If you wish to hone your skills in intelligence gathering, then I will make it an unofficial ongoing mission for you to gather intelligence on your classmates and present it to me. I get your perspective on your classmates, as long as it is reasonably objective, and in exchange, you get training of a sort. If you wish, I can even offer you scrolls on certain encryption techniques. There are special jutsu that can encrypt your writing automatically, and make sure that only you can access them. Sakura could scarcely believe it. The Hokage was actually doing this. Thank you, Hokage-sama. I won't let you down, I understand. And Sakura? I don't expect you to make friends with Naruto. But please do not think badly of him because of the Kyuubi. I won't. But Hokage-sama, the seal won't break, will it? I sincerely hope not. And that, it seemed, was his final word on the matter. It was some weeks after her talk with the Hokage. That night, with the Hokage's permission, she had sat down and had a long talk with her parents about it. She had resolved to not hate Naruto. Yes, she would be wary of him, for despite her respect for the fourth Hokage, she didn't know enough about Fuinjutsu to know how strong the seal was. But to confuse Naruto with the Kyuubi was stupid, in light of what the Hokage said. What the Hokage said meant that she felt a pang of sympathy for the obnoxious blonde. Shunned for the most part, occasionally attacked by morons, isolated and alone, no wonder he was so attention-seeking. It was either that, or end up an apathetic mess. Or even a misanthropic one. Feeling somewhat sorry for him, Sakura had given Naruto a book, one of a very few, and costing her quite a bit of pocket money, on the history of Uzushio and the Uzumakis for his birthday, through the Hokage. He deserved to know a little about his clan's origins, though apparently that led to Naruto pestering the Hokage, whom he frequently, and affectionately, called Old Man, more often about his parents. Thankfully, the Hokage seemed to be grateful that Sakura had taken pity on Naruto, rather than being annoyed by her giving the boy that book. She asked that she be kept anonymous. Naruto had a habit of asking her to eat lunch with him, something which she continually refused, if only because she wouldn't get the peace and quiet she wanted with him around. Learning that she had given him a birthday present would only make him pester her even more. The Hokage was also true to his word when he gave her an encryption jutsu. It could be used on the object to be encrypted, so all one had to do was write. What was more, it was keyed to her chakra, so only she could read it, unless, of course, she wanted someone to. Even someone peeking over her shoulder couldn't tell, unless she allowed them to read it, which was why she was writing in her journal again during lunch break. From the private and encrypted journal of Sakura Haruno. Name Naruto Uzumaki. Notes: troublemaker. Prankster. All-around pain in the derriere. Naruto Uzumaki is obnoxious and loud. And not just in terms of speaking, he habitually dresses in an orange jumpsuit that screams, "Look at me, I'm a target." And yet it's amazing he has turned out the way he has, considering the burden that has been placed on him. He was chosen by the fourth Hokage to have the Kyuubi sealed within him. Naruto Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. A boy who has never asked for such a burden. The other villagers often treat him with contempt, and to get around the Hokage's laws, tell their children to treat him the same. Despite this, or because of this, he intends to become Hokage, in order to gain the respect he felt has been rightfully denied to him. And in a way, he is right. By being the prison for the Kyuubi, he does deserve some respect. But then, his actions tend to wipe that away. He loves pranks. Then again, when you look at it from the right angle, pranking does require some of the skill required of a shinobi. By the way, if you value your sanity, do not ask him about ramen and why he likes it so much. You will regret it. To say he likes ramen is like saying Orochimaru was a little treasonous. Then again, I have heard about some of the habits of some of the jounin. A ramen obsession is sane by comparison. Distinguishing marks and characteristics. Has whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks, possibly a side effect of the Kyuubi being sealed. Wears bright orange clothing. Has blonde hair and blue eyes. Has a distinctive verbal tic, databeo. Skills, none known, and is inept with many things. However, has tenacity and enthusiasm in spades. Given his status, and what I know of Jinchuriki, he also has immense chakra reserves. Sasuke! Came the distinctive cry of her friend, Ino Yamanaka. With a sigh, Sakura looked up to see her friend and rival for Sasuke's affections, if they existed at all, approaching the sullen Uchiha. As much as Sakura wanted Sasuke's affections, he was also somewhat unapproachable. She did approach him on occasion, and did try to sit close to him. But her days of screaming out his name like a fangirl had gone behind her. Ino, please, you're embarrassing yourself, not to mention your clan, Sakura thought to herself. Then again, it wasn't like she was the only one. And Sakura had done a lot of fangirling herself until she realized Sasuke wouldn't respond to that. So what would he respond to? She put away her journal, and then walked over to where Ino was pestering Sasuke. Sakura liked the blonde girl quite a bit. Besides the fact that Ino had stood up to her against some bullies, there was no student in the class more knowledgeable about plants than Ino, as far as Sakura knew. The last Uchiha was walking back to the classroom, sweat tinging his flushed face. Sakura knew that he often spent breaks training. He was obsessed with it. Not quite as much as Naruto, but Sasuke was driven by a darker purpose than to become Hokage. He never spoke about it, but Sakura guessed that Sasuke wanted to become an avenger. She had done her research about the Uchiha clan, and who had murdered them all, save for one. Sasuke's family were massacred by his older brother, Itachi. Sakura had once stupidly tried to talk about it to Sasuke, only to receive a glare in return. Not the usual, strangely apathetic glare. How could a glare be apathetic? Sasuke apparently knew how to convey such a thing. He wore, but one filled with cold disdain and anger. She had backed off, but the damage had been done. She realized she had opened up an old wound, and had probably done more to anger him than any fangirl antics. Even so, she wondered if his vehemence at her was solely due to Itachi murdering his clan, or whether it was something deeper than that. She didn't know it, but it was the latter. Ino was still trying to get the last Uchiha's attention as Sakura walked by. "Oh hey Sakura, I was just asking Sasuke out," the Yamanaka said. Sakura scoffed slightly. "If he wanted any of us to ask him out, he would have agreed ages ago. Isn't that right, Sasuke?" Sasuke gave his rather customary noncommittal, sullen grunt, though the glance he shot in her direction was something new. Perhaps it was the faintest smidgen of respect. Or perhaps it was merely his way of saying at last, someone gets it. "Oh, and how would you know, Sakura?" Ino asked. "He's playing hard to get. I don't think he's like Naruto." "I don't think he likes all the attention," Sakura pointed out. She couldn't resist a jab at the blonde girl's expense, though. "Your dad's in the TNI department, and your clan's noted for ninjutsu and psychology, so why can't you see that?" "Hey, don't you diss me, Sakura!" Ino snapped. "What?" "I'm just saying, Ino," Sakura said, though she allowed a smirk to grace her lips. "Besides, he could have the pick of any girl here." "Or boy," Naruto remarked as he strutted by, a smug grin on his face. That'd explain a lot. Sasuke, Ino and Sakura's faces went through a blizzard of expressions, from astonishment, to embarrassment, to anger. A little voice in Sakura's head remarked, "That would explain it." The rest of her told that part to shut up, quite vehemently. Ino, of course, immediately chased after her fellow blonde, who was cackling like mad. Sakura merely facepalmed. As they walked through the corridors of the academy, Sasuke said, "I cannot afford to have anyone." Sakura looked to the dark-haired boy. "What do you mean?" "You understand little, Haruno," he said, looking at the pink-haired girl. "But that is better than understanding nothing. I have to grow stronger. I cannot have anything in my way if I am to take on him." "Naruto?" Sakura asked, until she realized her mistake. "Sorry. You mean your brother Itachi." "He is no brother of mine," Sasuke growled, his fist clenching. "Only once that murderous traitor is dead can I rebuild my clan. And only by becoming stronger can I achieve that. Nothing else matters." He scowled at Ino, who was pursuing Naruto into their classroom. Certainly not frivolities. For a moment, Sakura didn't know what to say. It was, frankly, the most Sasuke had really spoken to her, or to really anyone in the class. Eventually, she said, "Do you want any help? On the theory side of things?" He looked at her, and shook his head. "No. I don't need it." But there was the faintest undertone in his voice that she may have imagined. It seemed to say, "Your offer is noted." Not actually appreciated, but noted. It was almost kind coming from him. Later, when she got home, she began writing her next entry. Name, Sasuke Uchiha. Notes, the last Uchiha. Barring his traitorous brother Itachi, he is the sole survivor of Itachi's massacre 4 years ago. If the Ninja Academy had a most eligible bachelor award, he would probably be it. Probably because of the prestige attached to the name. It doesn't hurt that he's handsome as well, but even I forget that he lost his family to his own brother's hands. Whatever that did to him, it probably shaped him into who he is now. I used to think he played hard to get. But now, I just know that his family's demise turned his heart to ice. And I doubt he'll allow anyone to thaw it, not after what he told me today. I should probably be grateful he confided that much in me. That being said, he's very much a prodigy when it comes to jutsu. I know for a fact that his taijutsu and ninjutsu are way above virtually anyone else in my class. I'm sure that one day, he will be one of the most famous shinobi of this village, and hopefully for more than being the avenger of his clan. Distinguishing marks and characteristics: dark hair, dark eyes, and pale skin. Will in all likelihood unlock his clan bloodline limit, the Sharingan. Brooding and sullen. Obsessed with revenge on his brother, Itachi. Skills, a prodigy in taijutsu and ninjutsu, as stated above. Good on theory too. Sakura looked at what she had written with a heavy heart. While her desire for friendship and perhaps more from Sasuke had not been extinguished, today had dealt a grievous blow to it. But Sasuke had done something that she would treasure, to some degree at least. He had not only opened up to her, a little, but he also at least acknowledged that she understood him a little. It was in an insulting, backhanded way, but he had acknowledged it. But he had also shot down, or tried to shoot down, any desire she had for him. He had stated that he wanted to be alone, that he wanted to pursue his vengeance alone. But given how much of a prodigy his brother was, Sakura wasn't sure how much of a chance Sasuke stood, even if he trained for as long as he could. Itachi was even more of a prodigy than Sasuke. Sakura had done some research into the top prodigies of Konoha shortly before starting her journal. There was Kakashi Hatake, aka Kakashi of the Sharingan. How a man like him got a Sharingan when it was a bloodline limit exclusive to the Uchiha clan, she didn't know. And then there was Might Guy, the eccentric taijutsu specialist known as the Green Beast of Konoha. You had the legendary students of the Hokage known as the Sannin, like the treacherous Orochimaru, the perverted writer Jiraiya, and the elegant Tsunade. But save for the Sannin and the Hokages, one name seemed to stand out above the others: Itachi Uchiha. To call him a prodigy seemed to be a cheapening of that word. He was all but in a class of his own. His rise through the ranks was meteoric. He had it all. He was a captain in ANBU, a prestigious posting, even if it meant working from the shadows, behind a mask. And yet, he cast it all aside, murdering almost his entire clan, and fleeing Konoha. At least with Orochimaru, you could see events leading to his abandoning Konoha, the increasing darkness around him, even if only in hindsight. But Itachi? What signs had there been? Not that she had known the man, or could find anything out from public records. Otherwise, there may have been signs to see. But there weren't, or else they were hidden. Even the bingo book's information was fairly dry and succinct. She looked into the eyes of Itachi in his picture in the bingo book. Sasuke's eyes may not glitter with any joy, but at least they seemed alive. But Itachi's eyes seemed like they belonged to a corpse, dull and tired. In fact, so did the rest of the face. It was a handsome face, but the expression was dull and lifeless. Itachi Uchiha seemed like a living corpse, a zombie, a revenant. Sakura felt a shiver run down her spine. He was already a bad enough boogeyman without having to bring such a horrid concept into it. She decided to do something for Sasuke. She knew that the other girls had sent him flowers and chocolates, hoping to win his affections. Hell, even she had done that. He never so much as said a thank you. So she decided to try a different tack. Given what she said, winning his affections would probably be impossible. But winning a small modicum of his respect was another matter entirely. Sasuke Uchiha sighed when he found the latest batch of packages at the gates to the Uchiha clan compound. He only opened them just in case there were important documents from the council, the academy, or the Hokage. Sasuke may not waste his life on frivolities, but it didn't mean he wasted them, either. The flowers, he arranged half-heartedly in vases around the compound. They helped lighten up the place, and they reminded him of his mother. The chocolates and sweets he discarded, though. He'd tell them that he preferred tomatoes and tomato dishes, too, but that'd only be encouraging the fangirls. He frowned when he checked a bulkier package, a cardboard tube wrapped up with a document envelope. The envelope he opened first, thinking that it would be another declaration of love. That impression was reinforced when he saw the handwriting. Sakura's. But when he actually read the message, he frowned, or at least more than he usually did, frowning being his default expression for some years now. Sasuke, I know you said that you can't afford to have anyone else. I know you said you don't need any help. But I'd like to help regardless. I've given you two things. The first, which is with this letter, is a dossier I've compiled on Itachi about his career, as well as anything I gleaned from the bingo book. After all, you should know thy enemy, even if he was your brother. The second is a big picture of him that I managed to have blown up. I thought you could nail it or glue it or something to a wooden post to practice throwing kunai and shuriken at it. I hope this helps. Sakura Haruno. Sasuke's frown deepened as he went through the dossier. Most of it, he knew already. He did, after all, live with Itachi as a brother. He was 6 when Itachi murdered his family, and subjected Sasuke to the horror of the Tsukuyomi. But there were a few things here and there that intrigued Sasuke, including some of Sakura's annotations. She even asked why Itachi did so. Sasuke wasn't even sure himself. Not that he cared what reason Itachi had for murdering his family. All that mattered was getting stronger so that he could have his vengeance. But some of her observations were shrewd. What little respect for Sakura that Sasuke had grew minutely. He knew she was still trying to be with him, but at least she had a brain focused on something other than being with him. Interesting that a civilian-born wannabe kunoichi had succeeded where many clan heirs had not, and actually intriguing him. And the blown-up picture of Itachi was moderately inspired. He was annoyed that he hadn't managed to think of that, but even a genius couldn't think of everything. He'd have to find a way of copying it, because he was sure that the picture would be little more than shredded paper, fit only for a cat's litter box, before the week was out. He doesn't see it, does he? He's so dense, that idiot, Ino remarked casually as she sat down next to Sakura during their break. Who doesn't see it? Sakura asked, looking up from the book on poisonous plants that Ino had gotten her. It was lunchtime at the academy, a few days after she had given her gift to Sasuke. The playground was filled with the students. Naruto, of course. Who do you think I mean? Ino, there's more than a few idiots in the class. Look at Kiba, Ino chuckled. True. The Inazaka was probably Naruto's rival in being loud, obnoxious, and dense. And while Kiba shared Naruto's energy, he didn't share the orange-clad kid's drive and tenacity. But I meant Naruto. He doesn't realize it, but he's got his own fangirl. This was news to Sakura. Naruto, the loud and obnoxious class clown, had a fangirl? If she'd been eating or drinking, she might have choked. And who's that? She asked, once she got over her shock. Over yonder, see? Ino said cheekily, indicating near where Naruto was holding forth in some animated discussion between him and the rotund Chujiya Kimichi, with the bored-looking Shikamaru Nara merely lying on his back, looking at the sky, as was his wont. Nearby, looking pensive, and seemingly considering whether to talk to the blonde boy, was a girl with dark blue, almost black, hair, and the distinctive pearl-colored eyes of a Hyuga. Sakura recognized her instantly, of course. One tended to recognize the members of the more famous clans, and what their families were famous for. Ino's clan, the Yamanakas, were famous for mind transfer techniques. Naruto's, like Shikamaru, were noted for their strategic minds and their shadow manipulation abilities. Akimiki's were noted for being rotund and fond of food, but also expanding parts or all of their body to assist with their taijutsu. The Inazaka used trained dogs as partners, while the Aburames were living hives of special insects. She remembered what she had learned about the Uzumakis, about their high chakra reserves and talent with seals. The Hyuga were one of a rare clan with a Dijitsu, or eye technique. The only other one she knew of, offhand, was the Sharingan of the Uchihas. The Sharingan or copy will eye allowed the user to see and anticipate the moves of their opponent, as well as copy jutsus. The Hyugas, however, had the Byakugan, or white eye. When activated, it could see virtually anything around the Hyuga using it, in what was said to be a complete 360-degree circle. Not only that, but they could see the chakra network of people around them. It was this that was a key element of the Hyuga's taijutsu style, the Juken or gentle fist, whereby they used their own chakra to close off the chakra release points of their opponent. The name came from the fact that only a light touch was necessary to close these points, but the effect could be devastating, and certainly lethal. Certainly not as gentle as the name implied. The Hyuga clan had something of a reputation for aloofness at best, and at worst, unmitigated arrogance. But you could not say that of the Hyuga whom Ino and Sakura were observing even now. Hinata Hyuga was, if anything, the complete opposite of what one expected from a Hyuga. Humble, shy, self-effacing, and rarely able to speak without stuttering. An introverted, shy Hyuga with self-esteem issues. Well, all things were possible in the world. What does she see in him? Sakura asked. It wasn't meant to be a cruel question. She was honestly curious. Well, I think he saved her from some bullies once, You know, that whole knight in shining armor thing. And well, she doesn't have much confidence, whereas he has it in abundance. Plus, for all I know, he's probably pranked the Hyugas, and she's probably enjoyed her family being taken down a peg or two. God knows they need it with the stick they have up their well. Never mind about that, Ino said. Ino's assessment of the Hyuga's attitude was spot on, even if it nearly went into a crude direction. You've been near Kiba too long, haven't you? Yeah, I guess. Guy's got a potty mouth on him, Sakura chuckled. The brash Inazaka did have a tendency to turn the air blue. It had gotten him into trouble with the teachers on more than one occasion. Turning her attention back to Hinata, she watched the shy girl. Naruto had finished his discussion with Chuji, and was walking near Hinata. Sakura chuckled as a blush bloomed on the Hyuga's face. Naruto actually looked concerned, and put his hand on her head, apparently checking her temperature. Almost instantly, the girl fainted. Oh dear, Sakura said in a rather deadpan tone, as Naruto panicked, calling for Irika to help her. She's got it bad for him, hasn't she? Well, when you're fainting whenever you get too close to the object of your affections, Ino chuckled. Sakura echoed that chuckle. Poor Hinata. And even though Naruto seemed oblivious towards the Hyuga's affections, he was nonetheless concerned for her. You had to give him that. A clueless idiot and obnoxious prankster he was, but his heart was in the right place. Irika came over and managed to revive Hinata, Naruto looking on in concern. As Hinata got back to her feet, Sakura frowned. Do you reckon she has a chance with Naruto? I mean, with the way the Hyuga act? Honestly? I have no idea, Ino said. He's an orphan with no clan name known to him. She's probably the heiress to the Hyugas. She's certainly from the main house. Ah yes, the main house. One of the quirks of the Hyuga family, Sakura thought it a nasty little tradition, was that it was divided into two separate wings of the family, the main house and the branch house. Those in the branch house were inflicted with a special seal on their forehead, a manji that allowed the main house to inflict pain on branch house members. Perhaps more usefully, it also destroyed the eyes of the branch house members upon their death, preventing their adversaries from stealing the Byakugan. In the year above them was a Hyuga from the branch family with that very seal, a Niji Hyuga. He had something of a reputation for being, frankly, a fate-obsessed dingus who was nonetheless a genius when it came to taijutsu in general, and the gentle fist in particular. Sakura thought back to her conversation with the Hokage. He had allowed her to tell Naruto about where his surname came from, so she guessed it was alright to tell Ino. Actually, the Uzumakis were once the top clan in Uzushio. Whoa, really? Ino asked. Yeah. They were known for really high chakra reserves and few ninjutsu expertise, Sakura said. But most of them died when Uzushio was invaded. He's probably one of the few left. What, is that true? I can show you books in the library. It's in the history books and all. Ino whistled, impressed despite herself. I stand corrected, Sakura. Do you think anyone else knows about the Uzumakis? It's not well known, I think, Sakura said. The Hyugas might know, and I know the Hokage knows. Naruto didn't know until I gave him a book about it on his birthday. It really excited him, I bet, Ino said quietly. Then, her nose wrinkled. But he's such a brat, I know, right? Sakura laughed. Still, better watch out if he ever gets good at sealing like his clan was. He'll definitely use it in his pranks. Do you think he'll be any good? Ino asked. I mean, he goofs off, and doesn't show much skill. True, but if he gets motivated enough, Well, Sakura shrugged. Look at it this way. If he has big chakra reserves, imagine the jutsus he can pull off. Especially the higher-ranked ones, Ino whistled. I'd be afraid whether there'll be anything left of the village if he gets his hands on stuff like that. He's enough of a pain now. Sakura had to concede that much. Eventually, she asked, should we help them? What do you mean? Well, she likes him, but he's a clueless dunce. Should we help her find a way into his heart? Ino seemed intrigued. But she said quietly to herself, if she's main branch Hyuga, would she get into trouble for being with Naruto? A fair point. Well, we'll just tell her to play the Uzumaki clan card. That'd give them pause for thought. I mean, they're a bunch of stuck-up snobs, right? If Naruto's family really were the former rulers of Uzushio, then it'd mean marrying her with a family that has some prestige. Yeah, but he's a buffoon and a prankster, Ino said. All the Hyuga tend to be quiet and reserved, even Hinata. An impish smile crossed Sakura's face. All the better. I mean, you belong to a clan, Ino. Aren't there occasions when your family wants to see the Hyugas taken down a peg or two? Sakura's smile was soon matched on Ino's face. Only for it to fall. Even so, I don't want Hinata to get the caged bird seal. I don't want her to get into trouble. True enough. Sakura didn't want that to happen to the shy girl. But neither did she want to sit by and watch this continue. Look, we can just make sure that they're friends. They don't have to be anything more. If the Hyugas stick that seal on her just for being friends with him, then they're idiots. And we'll be behind her. I mean, it's not like she wants Sasuke, Ino frowned. Yeah, why not? I mean, it gets a bit boring, trying to get Sasuke to notice us. Let's do a bit of shipping elsewhere. Hinata Hyuga was beside herself with embarrassment. Time and again, she had tried to work up the courage to speak to the object of her crush, but she either dithered from afar, or when she did approach him, she ended up fainting, or getting ridiculously tongue-tied. Usually the latter more than the former, but even so, she was being checked by the school nurse, despite her, admittedly quiet, protests, and a concerned Naruto having been ushered out by Irika. Inwardly, she cursed herself for being weak. Well, it was what her family saw her as, but Hinata was trying to defy that. And yet, here she was, unable to pluck up the courage to talk to Naruto. Most of the time, she stuttered. A few times, she fainted. It was bad enough that her family looked down on her, but for this to happen, she was ushered out by the nurse, only to find the pink-haired Sakura and the blonde-haired Ino waiting for her. What are you two doing here? She asked. Moral support, Sakura said. We saw what happened, Ino said. As Hinata began to panic, Sakura said, and we'd like to help. Hinata blinked in confusion. It was Sakura who took the lead. Look, Hinata, we saw how much you like Naruto. Ino took up the reins of the conversation. And we'd like to help. Really? Hinata asked. Well, yeah. Look, Naruto's pretty dense. Unless you go up to him and say it outright, he isn't going to understand, Sakura pointed out. Though he's pretty chivalrous for a knucklehead, Ino said. The moment you passed out, he was all worried and stuff. The sad truth is, though, he's not going to return your affections unless you make it clear. And to make it clear to Naruto, you've got to tell him outright. But what if he says no? Hinata stammered. What if he doesn't like me? Well, there's plenty of fish in the sea, as the old cliché goes, Sakura said. We're still young, right? Hinata was a little wary. She wasn't stupid. Ino was one of the most vocal Sasuke fangirls, while Sakura was, if less vocal, still one of those who idolized the boy. A tiny paranoid notion bloomed in her mind. What if she was being set up? Hey, we'll be right behind you when you tell Naruto how you feel, Ino said. Look, you don't have to say you have a crush, or that you love him or something. Just say that you want to be friends with him. That should be enough for the moment. I mean, you just want him to notice you a bit more, right? Hinata nodded mutely, not trusting herself to speak. Well, come on then, Sakura said, and she and Ino, firmly but gently ushered Hinata to the classroom. Operation. Hinata's shipping went off surprisingly well, Sakura reflected. Hinata, bolstered by Sakura and Ino backing her up, approached Naruto, and managed to convey, through a blizzard of stuttering and stammering, that she wanted to be his friend. Naruto, at first, had seemed disbelieving. He had thought this to be some sort of joke, especially with Sakura and Ino nearby. But Hinata denied it so vehemently that Naruto had been convinced, though if she had been acting, it was too easy to set Naruto up. So it was with a yelp of joy that the exuberant blonde brat wrapped his arms around Hinata in a happy embrace. It was probably their presence, and thus their moral support, that ensured that Hinata didn't actually faint, though she seemed perilously close to doing so. You could see it in her eyes, Sakura thought. You could see her thinking, he's hugging me. He's hugging me. He's hugging me. Hinata, from that day on, managed to speak to Naruto without fainting, though the stammer never really went away. And she became part of Naruto's admittedly small circle of friends, as well as becoming friends with Sakura and Ino. She became the peacemaker of the trio when Sakura and Ino began to argue about things, especially about Sasuke Uchiha. And Naruto, you could see a protectiveness in him around Hinata. He had taken Hinata's desire to be friends seriously. Naruto was simple, true, but he had a desire to protect others from harm admirable in any wannabe Hokage. You could say that at that point, they became friends of a sort. Naruto's obnoxious and attention-seeking behavior did still piss the girls off, and they yelled at him when he pulled off yet another prank, but they at least knew of the decent core within the prankster. Even Sakura, knowing what she did of the Kyuubi, could see that. As much as he was an obnoxious brat, Naruto was not the Kyuubi. Indeed, towards his friends, or at least those who treated him with some small kindness, he was loyal, to the very end. Time went on, and the graduation exams were nearly upon them. Unfortunately, Naruto was having trouble. He didn't have any trouble with kawarimi or substitution, or the henge or transformation jutsus. In fact, he was embarrassingly proficient with the latter, creating the Oiroke no Jutsu, or the centerfold jutsu, one. That effectively turned him into an extremely attractive, and naked, young woman. Sakura could admire the skill the technique needed to be created in the first place, but even so Naruto didn't think that this would embarrass or anger the kunoichi in his class. Or he didn't care. Of course, given that it either distracted men, or gave them a nosebleed, it could be used to devastating effect, Sakura mused. But Naruto had a major problem. He had to demonstrate the 3 basic jutsu in order to graduate, and the one he couldn't get to grips with was the Bunshin no Jutsu, or the basic clone jutsu. Over the years, Sakura had become friends, of a sort, with Naruto. Not the best of friends, but she was more willing to help him out. Ironically, her relationship with Sasuke was also improving, albeit by minuscule amounts. Ino got jealous, but when Sakura asked the blonde to turn it down a bit, Ino tended to get more out of Sasuke. Sakura and Ino were at least able to discuss various jutsu and battle tactics with the sullen Uchiha boy. The dark-haired boy tended to tolerate them when they were talking with him on issues other than asking for a date. Sakura had basically 2 circles of friends then. One centered around Naruto and his friends, and the other centered around Sasuke, Ino, and the other admirers of the last loyal Uchiha. It was the former group that convened one lunch break to discuss Naruto's problem. Besides Naruto, Sakura, and Hinata, there was Chuji Akimichi, Kiba Inazaka, and Shikamaru Nara. The latter wasn't really participating in the little discussion, merely doing cloud watching, and muttering that this was troublesome. Maybe you can't do a clone because you suck, Naruto, Kiba said, with his usual bluntness. And no, Hinata said. If that's the case, why is he so good at TT transformations? True, Sakura said quietly. The problem may be chakra control. Hinata? Could you please use the Byakugan on him when he tries to create a clone? Alright, Hinata said. She activated the Byakugan, veins bulging around her eyes, and the faint outline of a pupil appearing in the otherwise featureless, pearl-colored iris. Naruto then tried doing the Bunshin no Jutsu. The clone that appeared was little more than a near-colorless corpse that soon faded. Why you are using TT too much chakra, Naruto, Hinata said, looking rather sad. What? But this is the lowest I can get it down to. Naruto protested. Naruto, Sakura said, have you done any chakra control exercises? As Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a sheepish grin, apparently he hadn't done any such exercise, Hinata said, WWL, he seems to have extremely high CHCH chakra reserves. Higher than in anyone else here. And maybe that's why he can't CC control it easily. That's possible, Shikamaru said, the dark-haired Nara sitting up and looking at them. Those with higher chakra reserves find chakra control troublesome. And supposedly, the Uzumakis had very high chakra reserves, Sakura said. Hey, Chuji said, presumably feeling left out of the discussion, even as he fished chips out of a packet and ate them. Does the exam have to be the standard clone? I mean, I've heard other clones need more chakra, and less control. I don't know, Sakura said. I mean about whether they'd accept another type of clone. And from what I've heard, a lot of the advanced clone techniques are Chunin level at the bare minimum, if not Jounin. Like the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shikamaru mused. The what? Naruto asked. With a murmur troublesome, Shikamaru got to his feet and elucidated. The shadow clone technique. Standard clones are merely illusions. I guess they count as Genjutsu. But advanced clones actually have substance, and can help fight, though they have little resilience. A decent hit will dispel them. I've heard that the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu is a Jounin level technique, simply because it uses so much chakra, and for any of us to use it could give us dangerous, even lethal, chakra exhaustion. But the clones are independent entities that can think for themselves. Where'd you hear about that? Sakura asked. My father is the head of the Jounin Corps, Shikamaru explained. Apparently, dispelled clones can transfer memories and experience to the user, too, making it good for reconnaissance. That's part of the reason it's in the scroll of sealing. Chakra exhaustion is one good reason, but too many memories and experiences coming back at once could do melt the brain. His eyes flickered over to Naruto, and he gave a smirk. Of course, with your brain, it shouldn't be too troublesome. Well, I am awesome, Dadabayo. Naruto bragged. No, dummy, he was saying it was because you ain't got much of a brain to melt. Kiba yelled. Sakura facebound as Naruto and Kiba came to blows, with Shikamaru slouching off, remarking how troublesome the boisterous blonde was. Do you reckon Iruka would allow another type of clone? Or if anyone would be willing to teach him? I dunno, Chuji remarked. It was Sakura and Hinata who approached their teacher after classes had finished for the day. Iruka frowned. Technically, it doesn't need to be the standard Bunshin clone. The main problem is that some people might decry Naruto getting special attention, especially given the fact that he's a noted troublemaker. Officially, I can't help him with that, and in any case, I don't know any of the other clone techniques. But his chakra control is appalling, Sakura said. I'll try to get him working on the exercises for it, but I think they bore him. It's hard for him to work on anything unless they grab his attention wholeheartedly. He also has large chakra reserves as well. If any of us has a chance of using an advanced Bunshin technique, it's Naruto, Hinata added. Again, it's out of my hands, Iruka said. If he does manage to pull off a clone properly, I don't care what sort it is. Hinata nodded rather morosely, before leaving. The classroom had emptied of everyone by now, save for Sakura and Iruka. Sakura looked at Iruka, and said in as low a voice as she could without anyone else overhearing, "Is the real reason Naruto not getting any special attention because of his tenant?" Iruka looked up, surprised that the young would-be kunoichi knew about it. Sakura said, "I've known for a couple of years now that he has the Kyuubi within him. I've seen how you look at him, and how Mizuki-sensei looks at him. And I realized a few things together. Sakura, the Hokage made that an S-rank secret. I know, but I'm not telling Naruto, or anyone else." "But you know. Iruka-sensei, do you hate Naruto?" Iruka frowned, before shaking his head. He annoys me, frankly. He is the worst kind of troublemaker. But I know that he's not the Kyuubi. And I don't hate him for that. He can be a dedicated student when he puts his mind to it. But you're right. There are times when I have been pressured by others to sabotage Naruto's education. Frankly, he does a good enough job of that himself. And thankfully, it's only a few idiot civilians who forget that the academy is run by shinobi. Most of everyone else just want to ignore him, and let him fail, spectacularly, on his own, too. But should I try teaching him another Bunshin technique, there may be some protest, and I was telling the truth. I don't know any other Bunshin techniques besides the standard one. But if Naruto can find anyone willing enough to teach him another Bunshin, and in any case, you may be able to teach him chakra control techniques, like the leaf exercise, or the tree climbing exercise. Normally, you'd wait until you became a genin before learning that last one, but he might find that one more interesting than the leaf exercise. Sakura needn't have worried. At least 2 of Naruto's other friends decided to take action independently. Hinata had approached her father, and hesitantly asked him about alternative clone techniques. Her father managed to get out of her that it was for Naruto. Shikamaru had also approached his own father, though he was more forthright in the first place about on whose behalf he was asking. Neither Shikaku Nara nor Hayashi Hyuga viewed Naruto with any true hatred for being the container of the Kyuubi. Hayashi's objections were more to the fact that Naruto was a brash and vulgar troublemaker. He had noted his daughter's relationship with the Jinchuriki with concern, partly because the elders would view such a relationship with disdain. But he also knew of the boy's heritage, though he kept that secret. Hinata had reminded him that the Uzumakis were once the rulers of Uzushio, but he also knew that Naruto's father was the 4th Hokage Minato Namikaze, being one of the few to know, and that his mother was Kushina Uzumaki, the infamous red-hot habanero. It was one of the few reasons he tolerated the friendship, because Naruto, for all his vulgar ways, could become a ninja on a par with his parents. And then, there was the fact that being friends with Naruto did help Hinata's confidence. He didn't actually tell her of any Bunshin to teach Naruto, but pointed out some avenues that they could try. Shikaku Nara found Naruto entertaining, albeit in an annoying way. So he told Shikamaru to invite Naruto over after school the next day. Shikamaru found this troublesome, as he often found many things, but agreed. Shikaku then notified the Hokage of his intentions to teach Naruto the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and received, to his surprise, wholehearted approval. All the Hokage asked was that he not mention the fact that Naruto was given this approval, and that Naruto be told only to use it during his ninja duties. When Naruto came over to the Nara clan compound the next evening, he proved to be a surprisingly quick study in the use of the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And when he successfully used it for the first time, dozens upon dozens of clones appeared, and Naruto looked none the worse for wear. Most jounin would have trouble making more than a few 3. Of course, given the grin on Naruto's face, Shikamaru and his father wondered whether, by teaching Naruto this jutsu, they had just signed the village's death warrant. After all, shadow clones were solid and could act independently of their caster. The potential for pranks was limitless. A good thing the Hokage had asked them to admonish Naruto, and asked that he keep it for his ninja duties. The day of the graduation exam was one of surprises. Sakura, of course, aced the written exam, and was good with the thrown weapons and genjutsu parts. The taijutsu was perhaps her weakest area. She also passed the 3 Academy Jutsu test. Sasuke, of course, breezed through with nary an effort. He had a slight smirk on his face, but little more. Naruto barely managed to scrape a pass on the written exam, as well as the taijutsu and genjutsu portions. However, he did okay with the thrown weapons. And he did the 3 Academy Jutsu quite well. Sakura, who was watching on, didn't fail to notice the surprise on Iruka and Mizuki's faces when Naruto produced multiple shadow clones. She had learned about his success beforehand from Naruto himself. She even heard Irika mumble, in despair at the dozen clones, "Oh God, he's multiplying." She also didn't fail to notice the slight narrowing of Mizuki's eyes once Naruto got his Hittite or headband. Against all odds, Naruto Uzumaki managed to barely scrape through graduating from the academy. He was pretty much at the bottom of those who had managed to pass, true, but he wore his headband, with the metal plate with the symbol of Konoha etched into it, with pride, repressing an urge to cheer at the top of his lungs. And there were many who were proud for him. Hinata was one, and Sakura, despite herself, was another. So too was Irika, and the Hokage was as well. Someone who was not at all proud of Naruto's achievement was Mizuki. He seethed and scowled inwardly, angry that the Kyuubi brat had somehow managed to graduate, that someone had taught him the Jounin-level Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Mizuki had been banking on Naruto flunking the exams, and then approaching him to take a bogus supplementary exam by stealing the scroll of seals. By doing so, he hoped to get in the good books of Odo, and their leader, the infamous Orochimaru. But his plans hinged on framing Naruto, and then killing the Kyuubi brat, like the fourth Hokage should have done years ago. Could he trick Naruto into believing that a supplementary exam would boost his ranking? Possibly. The blonde brat seemed disappointed at how low he had ranked, mostly due to how he did on the written exam. And the boy was too trusting. He never noticed how Mizuki looked at him, though to be fair, Mizuki did so when the brat's attention was off him. Yes, maybe that could work and Mizuki would leave this village behind forever, and Naruto a bleeding corpse on the ground. It was later that night that Sakura and her parents were rather rudely awakened when Irika came to them, Hinata in tow. "What's the matter?" Sakura asked when she saw the urgency in her teacher's eyes. "Naruto's stolen the scroll of sealing," Irika said. "Some of the ninjas reckon he's gone too far, but I smell a rat, and the Hokage agrees. We've got to find him. Some of them intend to kill him for this." With that, Sakura hurriedly donned some proper clothes, and followed Irika and Hinata. The Chunin teacher carried the two girls under his arms. They were there to help convince Naruto to surrender, assuming that Naruto needed to be told that. Hinata was also helping by keeping an eye out for Naruto with the Byakugan. His chakra signature was distinctive. As it turned out, finding him was depressingly easy. True, he was in a relatively isolated part of one of the forest areas around Konoha. Irika knew the forest to be a frequent haunt of Naruto's, but he didn't look like he was hiding. He was just reading the scroll of sealing. And when the blonde looked up, he didn't seem furtive, he seemed pleased. Sakura felt a chill run down her spine when he mentioned that Mizuki had told him that this was a supplementary assessment. As far as she knew, there was no such thing. "Irika-sensei," Sakura said. "He's been tricked, hasn't he? Mizuki's up to something." Irika was about to reply, when he saw something. He shoved the three children out of the way when a barrage of kunai sped at them, only to get caught by a few himself. Perched on a nearby tree branch was none other than Mizuki. For all his pleasant demeanor most of the time, Sakura had seen glimpses beneath that mask. And now, the mask was off. The silver-haired Chunin's eyes were hard, glittering with an odious fire. "The scroll, Naruto. Give it to me." The voice was not that of the pleasant teacher he pretended to be, but cold and commanding. "Don't do it, Naruto!" Irika yelled. "He wants the scroll for himself. Protect the scroll with your life." "Oh, really?" Mizuki asked. "Even though there are so many people willing to take that life from him? I mean, you do know what really happened with the Kyuubi 12 years ago? Do you think your so-called friends would be with you if they knew the truth?" Irika and Sakura realized what Mizuki was getting at. It was hard not to. "Mizuki," Irika said, "you go too far. You are breaking the decree of the Hokage." "What do I care?" Mizuki sneered. "Especially as the Hokage perpetuated your misery, Naruto. 12 years ago, the fourth Hokage defeated and bound the Kyuubi into a child. You are the nine-tailed demon fox." Sakura watched Naruto freeze in shock. So too did Hinata. Mizuki took out a giant shuriken, and as he spun it, he jeered. "If he were honest, Irika would admit that he hates you to your very core, that he wants you dead. Even these two brats wouldn't mourn your passing. Nobody will." With a contemptuous gesture, he flung the massive shuriken at Naruto, only for Irika to interpose himself between the shuriken and the boy. Hinata gasped in shock. Sakura gaped. "Sorry, Naruto," Irika groaned. "Maybe if I was a better teacher it wouldn't have come to this." Sakura was the first to take action. Grabbing Hinata, she then rushed over and grabbed Naruto's hand. The boy needed little prompting to flee with them. "Oh no, you don't!" Mizuki screamed, flinging shuriken after them, smaller ones this time. Only Sakura and the others getting a tree between them and the throwing stars stopped them. What followed was a game of cat and mouse. Sakura cursed herself. While Irika was a Chunin, so too was Mizuki. And the three children were freshly minted genin. There was maybe one chance. "Naruto," she hissed in his ear. "Create a few shadow clones. Transform them into us. We need to buy time." But Naruto said, his face looking sad and lost for, well, frankly the first time since Sakura knew him. "Now, Naruto!" The three of them halted long enough for Naruto to summon a few dozen shadow clones and transform them. Then, they fled further into the forest. They eventually came to rest inside a hollow tree. As the three of them panted, trying to get rid of their exhaustion, Naruto turned sad blue eyes onto them. Why are you helping me? He asked plaintively. You heard what Mizuki said, that I'm the fox. They'll be after me now, and, Naruto, Sakura said. I've known for 2 years. As Naruto and Hinata looked at her in shock, she said, 2 years ago, I heard that there was an S-rank secret about you. On a hunch, I put some things together. Like the way Mizuki looked at you, or why my parents didn't seem to like you, or that your birthday coincided with the Kyuubi's attack. But why didn't you tell me? Naruto yelped. Did you not listen, Naruto? An S-rank secret means that, save for a few authorized to do so, you can be executed for divulging it. The Hokage is the only person who would be allowed to tell you, and he was going to tell you when you became a genin anyway. What, he knew? Yes, Naruto's face fell. He didn't look at all happy that his grandfather figure had lied to him. Then, he said, I've still got to go. They'll want me dead. Thanks for pretending to be my friend, Sakura. I never pretended. Sakura snapped, poking her finger into Naruto's chest. You're a pain, a brat, and a troublemaker, but I've never pretended to be your friend. Besides, Mizuki got it wrong. You're not the Kyuubi, you're its jailer. You're a Jinchuriki, Naruto, and there's a difference between a human with a tailed beast in it, and the tailed beast itself. I may not have been your friend when I found out, but I didn't hate you for having the Kyuubi inside you. Naruto, chastened, turned to Hinata. What about you, Hinata? SS Sakura's right. I didn't know about the KK-Kyuubi, but I don't CC care. You're Naruto, not the DD Demon Fox. And you're my friend. Naruto, without thinking, scrambled over and hugged the Hyuga, who blushed and squeaked, her eyes, still showing the effects of the Byakugan, wide. Thankfully, she didn't faint. Then, she hissed, quiet. Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei are here. Iruka-sensei is not holding up well. The three newly minted genin shut up and listened. They could hear, faintly, the two teachers snarling at each other. Mizuki claimed he was going to use the scroll to obtain limitless power, and pointed out that Naruto would use the scroll to get his revenge on the village. Iruka retorted that he knew that Naruto was not the fox, but a dedicated student, a true citizen of the village. Mizuki sneered at Iruka, saying he was going to take the scroll and kill Naruto, Iruka, and Sakura, as well as snatch Hinata. Her Byakugan would be valuable to whoever was willing to either extract her eyes or force her into a breeding program. Damn it, Naruto snarled, tears streaming down his face. I'm going out there. Stay here. Sakura and Hinata didn't, but they followed at a distance, as Naruto created more shadow clones. I'm right here, Mizuki, you bastard. He snarled. As he walked towards him, he created more of them. You keep away from Iruka-sensei, or I will kill you. You. Kill me? Don't make me laugh, you demonic little brat. You and whose are my? Mizuki paused when he saw the hundreds of shadow clones filling up the forest, looking at Mizuki with fury in their blue eyes. He had seen him use the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu before, but never this many clones. What's the matter, Mizuki? You were talking all that good shit a moment ago. Come on. Hit me. Fight me. Naruto and his clones chorused. Then, with a vicious grin, he said, give me a hug too. Mizuki blinked in confusion. What? Okay, Mizuki, I'll make it simple for you. Time for your prescribed beatdown, Databeo. Naruto and his clones snarled, before attacking. Mizuki, to be fair, tried to put up a decent fight, managing to dispel a few of the clones. But he was outnumbered. Sakura took some grim satisfaction in Mizuki being beaten to a pulp. Hinata had looked horrified at Mizuki's admission that he intended to sell her off. Sakura would later learn that a ninja from Kumo, the village hidden in the clouds, had once attempted to kidnap her some years ago. What was worse was that the ninja in question was the current ambassador for Kumo, leading to a major debacle. After Naruto finished and dispelled his clones, Mizuki was left alive, but he was definitely unconscious, with many injuries. Sakura, given that he intended to kill her and do worse to Hinata, hoped it hurt. Sakura then began to tend to Iruka's injuries. The man had a basic first aid kit, and she had learned the basics of first aid in preparation for her career as a genin. Iruka looked at them all as dawn began to break. I'm proud of you all, he said quietly. Thanks for your help. It was N and Naruto who did most of the work, Hinata stammered. No, Naruto said. You guys, you didn't care. You didn't care that I was the Kyuubi. Naruto, for the last time, you're a Jinchuriki, not the Kyuubi. Sakura snapped. And no! I have known for 2 years. You're a pain in the butt, not a demon. I agree, Naruto. Hinata said. Naruto gave Hinata yet another hug, and he was also smiling at Sakura, who was shaking her head at the blonde's antics. Iruka tried not to laugh, trying to avoid exacerbating his injuries. They were like this when Anbu finally found the 4 of them. Naruto was reprimanded by the Hokage, but he was let off with a warning. If he couldn't trust someone in authority like Mizuki, well, who could he trust? And he had exposed several glaring security flaws around the Scroll of Seals. Naruto was allowed to keep his headband, and Iruka, Hinata, and Sakura were commended for their actions. Mizuki was already in the bowels of the TNI department. Sakura watched as Naruto, rather tearfully, confronted the Hokage on the issue of the Kyuubi. The Hokage calmed the boy down, and said that he was going to tell him the truth this very day, as Naruto had managed to graduate from the academy. Naruto found it hard to stay mad at the Hokage for long, Sakura noted. She knew the Hokage treated Naruto like a grandson. He had an actual grandson, Konohamaru, apparently something of a brat, and Naruto treated the Hokage like a beloved grandfather, albeit with an informality that Sakura scarcely believed. He called the Hokage old man, for God's sake. Still, she couldn't begrudge Naruto that. His family died in the Kyuubi attack. He needed some sort of family. The Hokage then turned to the others. Sakura, Hinata, thank you both. I was watching where Naruto was going with the Hokage Crystal 3, so that I could find out where he was, and direct the ANBU to apprehend him, unharmed. But I saw how you two treated him when he learned the truth. Remember though, that Naruto being a Jinchuriki is still an S-rank secret. Naruto can reveal the secret to whom he chooses, but I would like him to exercise discretion. The Hokage looked at Naruto. If word got out that you are a Jinchuriki, Naruto, other powers, particularly other hidden villages, may come after you. Jinchuriki are looked upon as little more than living weapons by many, or else as demons embodied. While I hoped you would become a shinobi, Naruto, that was to be your choice alone. Well, if I didn't become a shinobi, how could I ever become Hokage? Naruto asked, smirking. True. And you are fortunate to have good friends. Remember what I said, Sakura and Hinata. And thank you for helping Naruto through a difficult time. Thank you for believing in him. It was the fourth Hokage's wish that Naruto be known as a hero of this village for keeping the Kyuubi imprisoned. But such good intentions backfired. Even so, to know that even two of his peers are able to see Naruto for what he is, and not what people think he is, validates the fourth Hokage's decision. In a way, I think that this counts as your first successful mission. I'll let your parents know what happened, but with anyone else, tonight's events count as an S-rank secret. You'll be given a cover story for Mizuki's absence. Until TNI can confirm what he intended to do, he is merely taken ill. As if on cue, the door opened, and a pair of very different people walked in. One of them was a tall, imposing man with a scar across his face and a bandana over his scalp. The other was a young woman with purple hair, wearing little more than a mesh bodysuit, and tan trenchcoat and miniskirt. Hokage-sama, you've got to send us something a bit more challenging, the woman declared. It took him very little to get him singing like a canary. As it turns out, he is working for the snake bastard. Sakura blinked. Do you mean Orochimaru? The woman turned her attention to Sakura, looking a little annoyed. Yeah, who did you think I meant, the Tooth Fairy? Anko, the Hokage interrupted. Sakura was one of those who helped stop this from escalating, along with Hinata. Naruto, Hinata, Sakura, allow me to introduce the two top operatives of the torture and interrogation department. Ibiki Marino is the head of TNI, while Anko Mitarashi is one of his best people. Neither are fond of traitors, and Anko especially detests anyone who works for Orochimaru, more than anyone in Konoha. Yeah, well, when you've been a student to that bastard, you do learn to hate him, Anko remarked. She then looked at the three genin. Well? Are you brats going to say something? There was a chorus of no's from the three genin. There was something very dangerous about Anko, and they knew that they didn't want to piss her off. Sakura remembered hearing a little about Anko before, while she was studying prominent female jounin of Konoha. Two names came out at the top, Kurina Yuhi, who was noted for her prodigious use of Genjutsu, and Anko Mitarashi, a TNI operative who was a noted user of snake summons and a former student of the infamous Orochimaru. Neither kunoichi were people you wanted to mess with. And meeting Anko in person only served to confirm that. It was going to be a few days before they were assigned to their genin teams. Sakura had time to kill. Maybe, once she had gotten some rest after the events of last night, she might actually talk to one of them. It was after Sakura got her post-graduation photo done that she decided on an unusual course of action. Meeting Anko Mitarashi had made an impression on her, and she decided to see if she could talk to Anko further. While her dream was to get to the level of Tsunade, it would help to talk to other kunoichi, and see what life was like. Plus, she had to admit to being curious about what being the student of the treacherous Orochimaru was like. Anko must have been cleared to work in TNI, even if her teacher was a traitor. She went first to the TNI complex. The intimidating form of Ibiki was there, clearly not dealing with any prisoners. Can I help you? He asked. He wasn't friendly, a bit brusque, but not majorly so. I was wondering whether Anko was free? Why? I just wanted to talk to her, see what life is like for a jounin kunoichi. Ibiki's eyes narrowed, before he nodded, a smile coming across his scarred face. I guess you can. Anko's out on her lunch break now. She'll be at her favorite dango stand. By the way, good work capturing Mizuki. You, the Hyuga girl, and the Uzumaki brat did well. From what the Hokage told me, without you reassuring him, we might have lost Naruto to the village. But from here on in, the path you walk's gonna be rough. So don't chicken out, Harino. Thank you, sir, Sakura said, though she didn't like the way he had told her not to chicken out. She remembered what Ino said. Ino's father used to work with Ibiki, and said that Ibiki was a master of psychological warfare, using words and attitudes to get results in interrogation where instruments couldn't. He could intimidate an enemy into divulging secrets without even touching them. Ibiki's directions to Anko's favorite dango stand proved to be right on the money. The young woman was happily chomping at the sweet dish with not a care in the world. For a moment, Sakura stood there, wondering whether she could approach the former protege of Orochimaru. Then Anko said, "Don't stand around like a stale bottle of beer. Either sit down or piss off." Sakura chose the former. "How did you? Any ninja worth their salt gets a sense for this thing, even if they can't actually sense chakra," Anko said. "Otherwise, how do you know whether some bastard's sneaking up behind you, eh?" She turned to Sakura. "So, why did you decide to seek me out? I know that you're one of the top jounin of the village, and I wanted to know about the challenges a kunoichi faces in the field," Sakura said. Anko peered at the pink-haired girl, before she laid down some money, and got up, gesturing for Sakura to follow her. As they walked down the street, Sakura became conscious of the stares they were getting. Anko dressed rather provocatively, with her trenchcoat sometimes barely concealing her breasts. But it was more than lust that was in the stares Anko received. There were many glares of hatred. "You know, I'm probably one of the worst people to be talking to about what life is like as a kunoichi," Anko said. "And as a jounin. Technically, I'm a special jounin, as in specialized. My specialty being torture and interrogation. You'd be better off talking to Kurina Yehi. She's a friend of mine." "True, but well, I met you during that whole Mizuki debacle, and I wanted to know more. Plus you remind me of my friend, that brat Naruto?" Anko said. She shrugged. "Yeah, I guess so. I mean, from what Mizuki said when he sang like a canary, apparently he blabbed about the Kyuubi, so I guess I can talk to you about it. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. They hate the brat cause of the demonic fuzzball in him, and they hate me cause they think I'm the snake bastard's little ticking time bomb." She chuckled, rather ruefully, Sakura thought. "Trust me, my career as a kunoichi has been a tougher one than most. I'm a bad example. Being a kunoichi is tough, but my life has been tougher because of who my teacher was. So? My career as a kunoichi might end up as bad as yours," Sakura said. "So I might as well hear what the worst that could happen may be." Anko gave Sakura a look, before smirking. "Well, that's a pretty good reason, I'll give you that much. Not much chance of that happening. The jounin teachers have a few weirdos, but they're harmless ones. My guy's a youth-obsessed buffoon, but his obsession with youth is more about youthful energy than any preference. Not sure I can say the same about the snake bastard. And Kakashi Hatake is late all the time and reads the Ika books in public. But as far as I know, none of them are bastards like Orochimaru was. And the truth was, I looked up to him. We all did. He did keep his experiments secret, after all. And then I'm not sure I want to talk about that in much detail, only that he gave me the worst hickey of my life." "Hickey?" Sakura asked. "Yeah. It's called the curse seal of heaven. It's a nasty piece of work, and he gave it to me by biting me. I was the first one to survive being given it. Didn't stop him from leaving me for dead, though," Anko remarked angrily. "And I want him dead for it." "Can't say I blame you," Sakura said quietly. He's got a long line of people who want him in the ground, though I heard he was an immortality-obsessed lunatic, and he is a Sannin, so it would be difficult to kill him anyway. Not a bad choice, though all of the Sannin are eccentric, to say the least. Jiraiya's an infamous pervert, not to mention he's the author of the Ika books. But he's also one of the top spies and sealing masters of Konoha. Tsunade, I heard, has a gambling problem, and an unlucky streak a mile wide. Of course, out of the Sannin, I would agree, if only because she's probably the best kunoichi this village has ever produced." Anko shook her head. "So, you want advice on how to be a damn good kunoichi? Well, not much more than what you've already been told. Train hard, work hard, and don't let anyone fuck with you. That's the truth of the matter. I know more than a few of your class are fangirling over the last Uchiha." Anko spared her a glance, before saying, "I can see in your eyes that you are a bit of a fangirl, but at least you want to try and be a proper kunoichi. So here's a trip from me, gratis. Don't swoon over him if you ever end up on the same team. Remember, a genin team fights as a unit. Your strengths and weaknesses complement each other's." Sakura nodded. She spent the next few minutes listening to the jounin, and she seemed to get the impression that Anko liked trying to impart a few words of wisdom, though some, like her soliloquy on the joys of torture, were less helpful than others. But it was nice to get some perspective. Anko, in getting Orochimaru as a teacher, got a raw deal. She could only hope that she didn't get anyone anywhere near as bad. Name, Anko Midarashi. Notes: a Tokubetsu jounin or specialist jounin, Anko is also one of the few, if not the only, surviving students of Orochimaru in Konoha. And while she is about as scary as you'd expect a former student of the infamous traitor to be, as far as I know, she's completely loyal to Konoha. One of the scary things about her is that she works in the torture and interrogation department, and she seems to relish her work. Despite this, I see a lot of her that is like Naruto. Like Naruto, she is shunned for circumstances beyond her control, and is a person who tries to enjoy life, regardless of this. And like Naruto, she has a singular fixation on a particular type of food, dango. While some of her attitude and her more sadistic tendencies are questionable, she's certainly a prime example of a good Konoha kunoichi. I would probably never go into TNI, but she's a good role model in her dedication to her career, and to Konoha. Distinguishing marks and characteristics: wears a distinctive revealing outfit combining a mesh bodysuit, a trenchcoat, and a miniskirt. Has purple hair, and likes dango. Has a cursed seal mark on her body, apparently a type of three-armed manji according to her descriptions. Skills: from what I've read in the bingo book, Anko uses snake summons like her former teacher, as well as a snake style of taijutsu. She's also a skilled interrogator. It was the day of their graduation class. Naruto was holding forth with Hinata and Shikamaru about misadventures he had had with the Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru. Sakura half listened, though she winced when he bragged about how he combined his centerfold jutsu with the shadow clones to create what he called the harem jutsu. He had used said jutsu to humiliate Konohamaru's tutor and bodyguard, Ebisu. Eventually, Irika arrived, and called for order. Thankfully, he looked little the worse for wear after his run-in with Mizuki. He gave a speech about how they had become fully fledged shinobi, but that they were still at the lowest rank. They would thus be given a jounin to supervise them, in 3 genin cells. Sakura wondered how the team creation would go. Would she get to be on Sasuke's team? Irika began running through the lists. Sakura was elated when she learned that she would, indeed, be with Sasuke on Team 7. Naruto was on the team as well. And their jounin would be Kakashi Hatake. Sasuke gave Naruto a look, before saying, "Don't drag me down, dunce." Naruto looked set to explode when Irika quelled it, giving out the other team assignments. Sakura shot Sasuke a look. As loud and idiotic as Naruto could be at times, did he deserve such a jab? As it turned out, Hinata was on Team 8, along with the brash Kiba Inazaka, and the quiet, reserved Shino Aburame. Their jounin was Kurina Yuhi. As Team 9 was still in circulation, Ino, along with Chuji and Shikamaru, were Team 10. Their jounin was Asuma Sarutobi, the son of the Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. The jounin weren't coming around until the afternoon, so Irika dismissed them for the time being. The 3 of them walked out, Sakura going for the bingo book as she did so. Sasuke noted that. "Are you checking up on our instructor?" he asked. Sakura nodded. "I was talking to Anko, and she mentioned Kakashi. I know something about him. He's something of a prodigy." She flicked through the bingo book, and found the entry. Here we go. Kakashi Hatake. Known aliases: the copy ninja, Kakashi of the Sharingan, and the man who copied 1,000 jutsus. "Wait, did you say Kakashi of the Sharingan?" Sasuke asked, his interest piqued. And a faint scowl of annoyance on his face. "Well, yes. What's a Sharingan?" Naruto asked. "It's an eye technique like the Byakugan," Sakura explained, as patiently as she could. "It's unique to the Uchihas, as far as I know. It allows the user to anticipate moves, as well as copy jutsus, automatically committing them to memory. They can even help cast genjutsu." "Wow, that's cool," Naruto said. "So, where's yours, Sasuke?" The Uchiha scowled, but said, "When it awakens varies from Uchiha to Uchiha. However, I am sure to awaken it." "But how does this Kakashi Hatake have a Sharingan?" "It doesn't say. What it does say is that he's at least an A rank in the bingo book. He's also the son of the White Fang, Tsukumo Hatake, as well as being a former ANBU operative, and one of the students of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze," Sakura said. "Well, at least we're getting a decent teacher," Sasuke mused. "As for him having the Sharingan, he either is a bastard child of the family, or maybe he gained a transplant, somehow. Though I know nobody in my family would have given him one willingly." "Nobody you know," Sakura pointed out. "You may not have known the Uchiha that gave him the Sharingan. Kakashi made Genin at 5. He made Jounin at 13. He's 26 now." "Even so," Sasuke said. "But if he can teach me how to use it, well, it'd be great to have it, Databeo," Naruto said. Suddenly, he grimaced, and clutched his sides. "Oh, damn it! Sorry, gotta go." As he rushed off, screaming embarrassingly about having the runs, Sakura facepalmed. Sasuke, after a moment, turned back to Sakura. "He's an embarrassment," he muttered. "Do you know anything else about Hatake?" "Anko Mitarashi told me a couple of things. He has a tendency to be late, and he likes reading the Ika books in public," Sasuke grunted. "I guess some small information is better than none." He then frowned. "Who is Anko Mitarashi?" "One of the specialist jounin in TNI. Former student of Orochimaru, though she seems to view him and I think the same way as you do Itachi." Sasuke gave a bitter chuckle. "Actually, I think I have heard about her. The snake bitch, that's what they call her. I'm surprised she didn't track him down." "It's what I would have done." Sakura had little to say to that. All that she could do was stand with Sasuke as they waited for Naruto to return from the toilet. "Where the hell is he?" Sakura winced at Naruto's angry howl. Not that she could blame him for being annoyed. She snapped, "Naruto, keep it down. We're all getting annoyed by him being late." "Yeah, but he shouldn't be." All the other Jounin teachers have taken their students away. Why isn't he here? He has a point, Sasuke said, his scowl deepening. I know you told me this was a habit of his, but this is beyond a joke. Sakura nodded, wearily. She was passing the time by flipping through various entries in the bingo book. One entry she had looked at, and hoped sincerely she would never meet, was a rogue ninja from Kiri, the village hidden in the mist. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the hidden mist. After reading his entry, she decided to avoid reading about him again if she could help it. 1. He sounded like something out of nightmares. Suddenly, she saw Naruto trying to do something. He was perched on a desk, wedging a blackboard eraser in the door as a makeshift booby trap. This'll fix him for making us wait, the Jinchuriki said with a cheeky grin. Naruto, what if it's Irika-sensei coming through the door next? Sakura asked. As much as she wanted Kakashi to get some retribution for being late by hours, she didn't want anyone else getting it. There's no way a superior shinobi would be caught by such a simple trap, Sasuke remarked with a harumph of irritation. Almost promptly, he was proven wrong when the door opened, and the eraser fell onto their Jounin sensei, bouncing off his head and emitting a brief cloud of chalk dust. Naruto laughed uproariously at his victim, while Sakura and Sasuke stared in disbelief at how easily their new instructor had been tricked. He was rather strange, a lanky scarecrow of a man with a shock of spiky white hair that seemed to veer to the left, defying gravity and the nature of hair. A cloth mask, common to ninja, concealed his mouth and nose, while the left eye was concealed by his headband, which was slanted down at a lazy angle. Kakashi looked at them, and rubbed his chin thoughtfully. How should I put this? He said in an easygoing, bored-sounding voice. Based on what I've seen so far, I don't like you. Sakura groaned at her teacher's assessment, as did the two boys. This was a great start to their genin careers, and no mistake. Kakashi looked at his latest genin team, the one he had been assigned to, as they sat on the roof of the academy. He was somewhat ambivalent about this group. He was assigned to this team partly because he had been part of a similar team under his old sensei, Minato Namikaze, and partly because of the Uchiha boy. When his Sharingan awakened, Kakashi could train him in how to use it. Not to mention try and give Sasuke more emotional ties to the village. Kakashi didn't think that highly of Sasuke Uchiha. The brooding brat had a sense of entitlement, understated, but there. He was apparently quite skilled, especially in ninjutsu and taijutsu. Arrogant, again in an understated way. The potential to be a truly great ninja was there, but there was a lot of dross to deal with. He thought of himself when he was in a genin team, cold, aloof, and arrogant, obsessed with a single goal and proving himself. His eye flickered over to Naruto Namikaze no Uzumaki. He couldn't allow a slip-up like that. In a way, it was truly fortunate that Naruto ended up in Team 7. Kakashi owed a debt to his teacher, and trying to make sure Naruto became a good ninja was a way to repay that. Of course, like the Uchiha, he'd have his work cut out for him, but for different reasons. Naruto was, frankly, an idiot. Loud, obnoxious, and boneheaded. But his tenacity and enthusiasm was without bounds, and he had a knack for learning jutsu, it seemed, as well as creating new ones. And that was without going into his large reserves of chakra, due partly to his Uzumaki heritage and partly due to the Kyuubi within him. Kakashi needed to refine the boy's chakra control and taijutsu. Hopefully, he could get Naruto to stop wearing a bright orange jumpsuit that screamed I am target practice embodied. Ironically, Naruto was most like a Bito Uchiha. Then, his eyes flickered over to Sakura Haruno. A fangirl of the Uchiha, but a surprisingly restrained one. Physically weak, she was competent with taijutsu and thrown weapons, but not superb. She was nonetheless mentally a force to be reckoned with. According to the Hokage, she had managed to infer that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi at the age of 10. And instead of treating Naruto with disdain, or contempt or hatred, she treated him neutrally, at least at first. She also gave Naruto a book on the history of the Uzumakis. She may not have the physical capabilities of a true kunoichi yet, but she seemed to have the right mindset. Probably going to take up the Rin role. Of course, whether they passed the true genin test was another matter. None had passed the bell test he had given so far. He had a sneaking suspicion that any success on the matter depended on Sakura. Rin was very much the glue that bound Kakashi and Obito together, and Sakura had inherited that role, it seemed. Kakashi decided to stop observing and start working. Okay, well, how about we get to know each other a bit better? Like telling me a bit about yourselves? Like what? Naruto asked. Let's go with basics: age, likes and dislikes, hobbies, and dreams for your future. That sort of thing is simple enough, isn't it? How's about you go first? Naruto asked. Sakura nodded. We've known each other for a couple of years, but we've only met you today. Kakashi looked at her, noticing the bingo book in her hand. Well, might as well have some fun. Alright. I am Kakashi Hatake. I am 26 years old. I don't feel like telling you my likes and dislikes. I have plenty of hobbies. And dreams, well, I've never really thought about them. The three of them scowled, though Sasuke's brooding expression tended to be mere millimeters from a scowl, so it didn't make much difference. Then, Sakura said, You are an A-rank jounin in the bingo book, given the nicknames the Copy Ninja, Kakashi of the Sharingan, and the man who copied 1,000 jutsus. You are the son of Tsukumo Hatake, the White Fang. Kakashi suppressed a wince at that. His father was not a happy memory. You attained genin rank at 6. Your sensei was Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, and you are former AMBU. Oh, and you like being late, and reading Ika publicly, you pervert. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, mildly impressed, despite himself. Most of that information was in the bingo book, true, but the simple fact was that few genin tried to do any research on him before the test, let alone before they met. And how do you know I read Ika publicly? He asked, out of curiosity than anything else. A good ninja doesn't reveal their sources, Sakura said with a smirk. Kakashi couldn't help but chuckle. Then again, it was fairly well known that he read the Ika books publicly. There were a number of people she could have asked, or else could have told her, and she simply retained the information. Okay, Pinky. Seeing as you're so enthusiastic in divulging information about me, how about you tell me about yourself? Sure. I'm Sakura Haruno, and I'm 12. I like reading, honing my intelligence-gathering skills, and she stole a glance at Sasuke at this point, before saying, moving along. My dislikes are idiots, especially those who don't want to improve themselves, and bigots. My hobbies are reading and researching. My dream one day is to become a kunoichi on a par with Tsunade, though I wouldn't mind a consolation prize. She stole another glance at Sasuke. Most girls her age are more interested in boys than learning ninjutsu, Kakashi thought. And she's still got an infatuation with him. But she's definitely got an interesting dream, and she at least is trying to take things seriously. His eye flickered over to Naruto. Okay, Blondie, you're up. You've got it. Naruto yelped. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm 12. I like ramen, pranks, learning about my clan, and learning new jutsus, databeo. I hate the time it takes for ramen to cool down before you can eat it, along with morons who don't understand the difference between a weapon scroll and a kunai in it. My hobbies are pranks. My dream is to become the Hokage, so that the villagers will acknowledge me. Well, that was interesting, Kakashi thought. A bit singularly obsessed with ramen. He looks like Minato, but his behavior's Kushina. And he wants to be Hokage, albeit not for the best of reasons. If he is serious, then he'll need a bit of a reality check as to what being a Hokage means. Still, you can't fault his energy and tenacity. His eye roved over to Sasuke. Okay, and now you, Broody. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at the nickname, but he said, I am Sasuke Uchiha, and I am 12 years old. I like few things. If I listed all of my dislikes, we would be here forever, though I will say that I detest shrill fangirls who do not understand what being a ninja is like. If I could be said to have a hobby, it'd be training. I do not have dreams, as dreams may never be achieved. But I do have an ambition that I have every intention of fulfilling, to revive my clan, and to kill a certain man. Sakura looked over at Sasuke. Itachi, right? Sasuke nodded. Kakashi looked thoughtful. As I suspected. He is focused almost utterly on his revenge. He will probably be the hardest to get through, especially where teamwork is involved. I could persuade Naruto to work as part of a team fairly easily, but Sasuke is another matter. Out loud, he said, well, seeing as we've introduced ourselves, our training begins tomorrow. Yes, sir, Naruto said, saluting. What will our first mission be like? A survival exercise, Kakashi said, putting a pin in that particular balloon. Naruto would soon learn that the life of a ninja wasn't fun and games. He nearly chuckled at the protests of Naruto and Sakura, who pointed out they had done survival training in the academy. He then said, oh, don't get me wrong. It's not your typical survival exercise, as you'll be surviving against me. Well, what sort of exercise will it be? Naruto asked. Kakashi couldn't resist. He chuckled out loud. He did enjoy seeing the appalled look on their faces when he told them the grim truth. There was definitely something of the gadfly in Kakashi Hatake. What's so funny? Sakura asked, her eyes narrowing. Oh, nothing much. I just know that if I told you the truth about this test, you'd get scared. Seeing that he had their attention, he leaned forward. There are 27 graduates of your class. Of those, only 9 will become full genin. The remainder go back to the academy for remedial training. In short, 2/3 of the students undertaking this test fail. Naruto's mouth gaped. Sakura looked appalled. The Uchiha was even sweating slightly. See? I told you you'd get scared. Kakashi chortled. That's bullshit. Naruto snarled. We've already been through one test. What was the point of that one if we're being tested again? Naive. But it wasn't a bad point if he wanted to learn. The graduation test was to weed out hopeless cases, as well as guarantee basic knowledge and skills, Kakashi explained patiently. Those who graduated are the ones who show true potential. This test is to make absolutely certain you are truly ready. Anyway, we will meet tomorrow morning at 7, at Training Ground 3. Be sure to bring all your tools, equipment, and weapons. Oh, and unless you particularly enjoy throwing up, don't eat breakfast. He handed them a trio of papers. Memorize the details of this assignment, and don't be late. Sakura felt her stomach churning at the prospect of this test that night. But one thing that puzzled her was why Kakashi wanted them to skip breakfast. Sakura wasn't quite on a diet, she watched what she ate, but it was to optimize her training rather than to impress Sasuke, with her beauty, anyway. But he was a jounin. True, he had allowed that blackboard eraser to fall on his head, and he seemed very laid back, if not actually lazy, but she was already getting the impression that this was an artifice. 3 genin versus a jounin. And he was stacking the odds in his favor by preventing them from having breakfast, the risk of vomiting aside. So she decided to risk, if not a proper breakfast, then a ration bar. Not particularly appetizing, but they were nutritious and helped in a mission, which was, in a way, what this was. She also decided to bring the other 2 ration bars. The next morning, they got to the training ground, but Kakashi was nowhere to be seen. Sakura sighed. He's going to be late again, she muttered. Bastard. He said not to be late. Naruto screamed. Sasuke merely scowled, until Sakura threw a ration bar apiece to him and Naruto. Naruto stared at it. Before saying, Sakura, he said not to have breakfast, unless we want to puke. I know what he said. But he's a jounin. We're genin. If we need to survive against him, we need every edge we can get. Seeing what he did yesterday, who's to say that he won't wait until nearly lunchtime, and then do this test? Sasuke looked at the ration bar, and then nodded. Good thinking. The 3 of them ate their ration bars in silence. Well, relative silence, with Naruto chomping noisily on his ration bar and complaining about late teachers. As it turned out, Sakura's prediction was right on the money. Kakashi turned up after 11 o'clock. Good morning, class, he said cheerfully. You're late. Sakura and Naruto chorused angrily, with Sasuke's scowl making his contribution. Sorry, I saw an old lady struggling with her groceries, so I decided to do the chivalrous thing and help her. I call bullshit. Naruto yelled. Well, it matters little, Kakashi said, leading them over to a tree stump, one of 3 nearby. He set an alarm clock and put it on top of it. The alarm is set to go off at noon. He then held aloft a couple of small bells. You see these? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, well, not like you have a choice, but anyway, you are to steal these from me before the alarm goes off. Anyone who fails won't have lunch. I will be tying the losers to the stumps so that I can make you watch as I eat your lunch in front of you. Sadist, Sakura said with a glare. Sensei, Kakashi corrected with what seemed like a grin. It was hard to tell with that mask. He then frowned. You don't look hungry. Didn't I say that you shouldn't eat breakfast lest you vomit? You're a jounin. We're genin, Sakura said. We need every advantage we can get, and an empty stomach is not an advantage. I brought ration bars for the 3 of us. A chuckle emanated from the jounin. Well, you at least think like a true ninja. But you'll need to think about the purpose of this test. All you need to get is 1 bell apiece. Of course, as there are only 2, that means one of you is definitely going to be tied up. And that will be the first person to fail, to go back to the academy in disgrace for remedial training. Sakura felt a chill at that. But there was something wrong here. What was it that was nagging at her mind? If you want, you can use any weapon in your arsenal, shuriken, kunai, that sort of thing. Attack as though you want me dead, or you won't succeed. Sakura felt it ridiculous, but still, she couldn't help but feel apprehensive. Sensei, that is dangerous, Naruto scoffed. You couldn't dodge an eraser. You'll end up dead meat, Kakashi sniffed. As the old truism goes, empty vessels make the most noise. Ignore the idiot, and we'll start on my signal. Sakura noticed that Naruto was shaking with anger at Kakashi's casual insults. With a snarl, he whipped a kunai from a pouch, and prepared to fling it at Kakashi. In a sudden blur, Kakashi was behind Naruto, grabbing the blonde brat's hand and bringing it behind his head. The way Kakashi positioned Naruto, he would only have to plunge the kunai a few inches into the back of the boy's head, and thus kill him. Whoa there, Kakashi said casually, even as the 3 present stood in shock at the sudden reveal of their teacher's abilities. I didn't say you could start, did I? Sakura tried very hard not to be afraid of her teacher's skills. It was one thing to hear what jounin were capable of. It was another to see it in action. At best, she had seen a blur, little more. She could see the same thoughts running through Sasuke's and Naruto's heads. Well, I'll give you this, you were striking to kill. So maybe you're beginning to understand what I am capable of. He chuckled. Maybe I'm beginning to like you guys. Sakura could see a grim smile forming on Naruto's face. He now had some small respect for their new teacher. Okay. Get ready, Gyo! Kakashi yelled. And with that, they scattered and hid. The bell test had begun. Sakura watched Kakashi from hiding. Something about this test was bugging her. But what? Kakashi said, as if knowing his students were listening, the fundamental of any shinobi technique, making oneself invisible. To erase one's presence from existence. It was at about the same time as Sakura did that Kakashi realized that only 2 of his students had concealed themselves. Naruto, bold as brass, was standing in front of Kakashi, arms crossed, yelling, Okay, you! It's time for our battle to begin. Let's make it a spectacle, worthy of the greatest in history. Oh, it'll be a spectacle all right, Kakashi remarked dryly. I mean, you're making plenty of a spectacle of yourself right now. Naruto, you imbecile, Sakura groaned. Naruto snarled. Then I'll make your beatdown even more spectacular. He began to charge, only to halt as Kakashi fished around in an equipment pouch on his leg. As I am your teacher, it behoves me to instruct you in the ways of the shinobi. First up, taijutsu, the physical arts. Hand-to-hand is the basis of all combat. Only a fool trusts his life entirely to a weapon. 1. Naruto seemed to hesitate though, thinking that Kakashi was pulling out a weapon. So too was Sakura until she saw what it really was, a copy of Ika Paradise. She stifled a groan of annoyance. As Kakashi opened the book and started to read it, Naruto stared in utter astonishment. Kakashi noticed the boy's uncharacteristic silence, and spared him a glance. I'm sorry, weren't you going to make my beatdown spectacular? Naruto spluttered and stammered incoherently, before saying, that's a book. And Sakura said that the Ika series were perverted. True, but I like reading them, Kakashi said offhandedly. Besides, considering what your skills are like in taijutsu, I can just have a nice relaxing read. Please carry on. The lack of any remote smidgen of respect from their teacher sent Naruto into a fury, and with an angry scream, he attacked Kakashi, who, without even looking up from his book, blocked or dodged each attack. After the best part of a minute, Naruto put his entire force into a single punch, only for Kakashi to move behind him, his index fingers pointed in an odd manner. Too slow, Kakashi said, throwing his voice so that Naruto didn't realize he was behind him. Turning your back to an enemy is a very bad idea, slowpoke. Sakura's eyes widened. Kakashi's hands, although still gripping his book, was now in a tiger hand seal, associated with either katan or fire release jutsu, or powerful technique that might be too much against a genin. Concerned for Naruto, but afraid of giving away her position, she threw her voice as best as she could. Naruto, run for your life. Too late, Kakashi said before yelling, Konoha secret and sacred taijutsu technique, 1,000 years of death. And with that, he jabbed his pointed fingers deep into Naruto's arse. For some reason, that sent the orange-clad boy howling in agony several meters through the air, before crashing into the nearby river. That wasn't a secret technique, Sakura thought indignantly as she shifted her position. Nor was it sacred. It looked like a simple kancho, too, though given how painful it was and how far Naruto flew, he may have infused it with chakra. She shook her head. Her new sensei wasn't just a pervert, he was also ridiculously puerile. He was also toying with Naruto, that much was obvious. It was made even more so as a pair of shurikens spat out of the river, presumably thrown by Naruto. The accuracy was quite astonishing, but Kakashi, giggling at something in his book and blushing, caught them and spun them on his fingers. How can we beat him? Sakura thought. He outclasses any one of us to a ludicrous degree. Even together, it'd only be the slenderest of chances. Wait a damned moment. Sakura only half-registered Naruto bursting out of the water, along with several shadow clones, looking pissed off. 3. She did notice one of them managing to grab a hold of Kakashi, and saw Kakashi substituting with another clone in the nick of time, but most of her mind was racing. The 2 bells thing is a ruse. It has to be. As far as I know, genin teams have to be a minimum of 3 genin and a jounin. He's been deliberately stacking the deck in his favor, trying to play a game of divide and conquer. He did say you'll need to think about the purpose of this test. Only by teamwork do 3 genin have a chance in hell of defeating a jounin. And even that's a slim chance. Sakura roused herself from her thoughts to see that Naruto had gotten caught in a trap, trying to pick up a bell that Kakashi had apparently dropped. Kakashi was lecturing Naruto, when a hail of kunai and shurikens slammed into him from a tree. It could only be Sasuke, but had he just killed their instructor? No. The bleeding body of Kakashi soon turned into a log. And Sakura knew that Sasuke had just exposed his position. Sakura looked at the swinging figure of Naruto, strung up by the foot, and threw her voice. Stay there, Naruto. I will pick you up in a moment. She darted through the foliage, seeing if she could find Sasuke and explain what she had inferred. However, she found Kakashi first, and froze, observing him from afar. Then, she heard Kakashi say, Behind you, Sakura. And there he was, right behind her. It must have been a clone she spotted. Kakashi stared at her, only to seemingly dissolve in a swirl of leaves. For a moment, Sakura was disorientated, before hearing the voices of Sasuke and Naruto groan out from nearby. She ran over, only to be confronted by them, bleeding from hundreds of different wounds, their bodies impaled by shuriken and kunai, limbs missing or in unnatural positions. They were clearly dying. No, they can't be dying, it's just a test. It's just. Her eyes widened. You bastard! It's a genjutsu. The hell viewing technique. Bastard! Screwing up her eyes, she gathered herself together, and dispelled it, as hard as she could. The image of Naruto and Sasuke bleeding and dying vanished. But Kakashi was nowhere to be found. Darting into cover, Sakura threw her voice again. I'll get you for that, you sadistic pervert. She got no reply. Not that she expected one. Finding Sasuke would have to wait. Time was running out, so she decided to go back and free Naruto. Hopefully, she could be able to get it through to him what this test was about. Up in his tree perch, after watching Sakura break free from the genjutsu, Kakashi sighed. Maybe I overdid it. she's now out for my blood. Well, at least she knows how to dispel a genjutsu. I got worried for a moment there. As he hopped down, he heard Sasuke muse quietly to himself. What did he do to her? Kakashi hopped down from his perch. Genjutsu, the art of illusion. I must admit, Sakura has impressed me a little. I nearly thought she would fall for it, Sasuke harumphed. Maybe. But I'm far above their level. Typical Uchiha arrogance, Kakashi groaned inwardly. Why, oh why, couldn't I have gotten an Uchiha that was more like a Bito? Out loud, he said, bragging can wait until after you have triumphed, Sasuke. As it is, I am looking forward to seeing the famed strength of the elite Uchiha. Sasuke merely set his face into a hardened grimace, before he reached for his kunai and shuriken, the first move of their battle. Naruto, as it turned out, had gotten trapped in a double-layered trap. Even after cutting himself down once, he got caught in a second snare. After being warned by the cacophonic blonde, Sakura made doubly sure to check for any other traps, before throwing a kunai at the rope and bringing Naruto down. He landed in a somewhat undignified manner, and then scowled up at Sakura. Did ya have to do it like that? This was quicker. Naruto, we don't have much time left. Actually, let's see if we can't fix that. She threw a kunai at the alarm clock, impaling it. Whoa, what did you do that for, Sakura? Lateral thinking. It might give us time to succeed. Let's hope he hasn't got an alarm on his watch. Look, I figured it out. This two bells thing, it's a lie. He's trying to make us work individually against him, she said as she led him into the bushes, and thus cover. But why would he do that? Because I think he's trying to see if we can work together despite that, Sakura hissed. And be quiet. He'll hear us coming if you keep yelling. Listen, Sasuke's great, but I doubt even he can beat a jounin on his own. Between the three of us, though, we might just have a chance. A slim chance, but it's better than nothing. I see, Naruto said, looking thoughtful for a change. If the three of us gang up on him, we might be able to get the bells. But what if he was telling the truth? Then I'll go back to the academy. I'd like to be on a team with Sasuke, but even so, if the teacher's going to be a sadistic pervert, then I'd rather do remedial training. You don't need remedial training, Sakura, Naruto hissed. You're the smartest girl I know. I mean, how else could you and Ino tell that Hinata wanted to be my friend? Sakura winced, as that was a bad example. Or figuring out I had the QB in me? A better example. If it weren't for Hinata, I'd want you to go out with me. You're smart and pretty, Databeo. Sakura blushed a little from the unabashed compliments from the Jinchuriki. Thanks, Naruto. But we need to find Sasuke. 3 against 1 is better than 2 against 1. They found Sasuke buried up to his neck in the ground, looking more than a little annoyed. Sakura feared for the briefest of instants that he may have been decapitated, but the cracks in the ground around him told otherwise. He had been the victim of an earth jutsu. Naruto couldn't help but laugh, and only a sharp jab to the ribs from Sakura got him to focus. Between the two of them, they managed to dig him out quickly. Sasuke, listen, Sakura said quietly. We need to hit him together, all at once. Don't you think it's odd that he's trying to turn a 3-genin team into 2? Sasuke scowled. And why would he lie? Because we're ninja. Lying and deceit are our stock in trade. I think he's testing us for our teamwork. I know you want to get stronger, but you need to have Kakashi as a milestone. He managed to beat you in single combat. I nearly got the bells, Sasuke said. I barely missed. Well then how about we turn that into a capture, right? Now, here's the plan. Kakashi waited by the stumps, reading his book. He noted with both approval and annoyance that someone had destroyed the clock with a kunai. It was a good thing, then, that he had a watch with an alarm set, and it was due to go off in a little less than a minute. But at least one of the genin was thinking laterally. Given that Sakura had circumvented that whole no breakfast thing, he was willing to bet that it was her. And she was probably the one to free Naruto from the snare. But would she grasp the meaning of this test? Who knew? He didn't really have much hope. None of those he had tested had managed to grasp the meaning of this test. Of course, even if she did discern the true meaning, persuading the bull-headed Naruto and the revenge-obsessed Sasuke were other matters entirely. Naruto was unpolished and lacked skill, but pulled off surprising spontaneous moves, and could overwhelm some enemies with the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Sasuke was highly skilled and powerful with ninjutsu, but he was also arrogant. Of course, he was also the closest to getting the bells. Suddenly, Kakashi's musings were interrupted when a hail of shuriken and kunai flew at him. As he dodged, more clones of Naruto rushed him. He sighed. This old tactic again? It wasn't until he saw the confident looks on their face, and the whoosh of a fireball coming for him, that he realized that he had been had, by a simple trick, no less. Naruto's clones had been a diversion so that Sasuke could launch another of his fire jutsus. Kakashi saw the grim satisfaction on the clone right in front of him, even as it was dispelled by the fireball. Kakashi leapt out of the way, but he was off guard, and Sakura suddenly appeared in front of him. Right back at you, sensei! And then, suddenly, he could see them. Rin with a gaping hole in her chest, a hole Kakashi himself had made, blood oozing from it. And Obito, crushed and warped, blood dripping from his eye socket. And they chanted the same, terrible, damning refrain. Friend killer Kakashi. Friend killer Kakashi. Friend killer Kakashi. Kakashi blinked as a tear trickled from his exposed eye. He was in a genjutsu. Sakura had used the same technique that he had used on her. She must have overpowered it, either trying to overwhelm his defenses, or else because she wanted payback for whatever she saw when under the hell viewing technique. He dispelled the genjutsu a fraction too late. The bells were in Sasuke's hand and his watch alarm was peeping. Kakashi blinked briefly, scarcely believing what they managed to do, before he assumed the role of the sadistic sensei. Well, it seems that you've got the bells, Sasuke. Now, tell me, which one of you are going back to the academy, I will go, Sakura said. What are you talking about, Sakura? I'm the last in the class. I should be the one who needs the remedial training, Databeo. Naruto protested. No, Sasuke said. He cast the bells onto the ground contemptuously. Together or not at all. Really? Is that how you view the fruit of your hard work, Sasuke? Where you're disobeying the rules as given out by your teacher? Your rules are bogus. Naruto snapped. We got them by working together. You want to break us up, even though we succeeded when we worked together, then you're a moron, Databeo. Really? Is that how you feel? He asked, putting on his most intimidating look, releasing some of his killing intent to emphasize the point. Are you willing to risk it all, put it all on the line for this? They shivered, even the Uchiha, but they all nodded, as steadfast as they could. Then I have no choice but to pass the three of you. He smiled. Incidentally, which one of you realized what I intended? Sakura did, Databeo. Naruto said. Well, I should have guessed. But even so, to get the bells, it was a team effort. And it is teamwork that can make or break a mission. He crooked a finger, beckoning them over to the cenotaph that they hadn't paid much attention to earlier. Look at this, he said quietly. See the names engraved here? Here is recorded the names of many of the greatest heroes of this village. Then I'm gonna get my name on that list then. Naruto yelped tactlessly. Naruto, Sakura hissed, that's a cenotaph. It's a memorial for dead shinobi. Indeed, Kakashi said. Many of my friends, comrades, and idols have ended up here. I saw 2 of them when you put me under that genjutsu, Sakura. His tone was without reproach, but she flinched anyway. Sorry, it's okay. I used the same technique on you, and it upset you a tad too much. I probably deserved it. But this is a thing you 3 must understand. Ninjas who disregard the rules are scum and trash, but those who abandon friends are below even that, Kakashi said, remembering Obito's words. And look where it got him, crushed by a cave-in. And poor Rin. Shaking his head, he said, anyway, you 3 have passed. Once we have lunch, you are dismissed for the rest of the day. Make the most of it. We're starting training and missions from tomorrow. Kakashi had to admit it, he was proud of them. They were the first team that he had passed the bell test, and on the first try, too, instead of the secondary component. He remembered when Minato Namikaze had given him this very test. Minato would be proud that his son managed to pass it, even if he needed prompting from Sakura. And hopefully, this had managed to get through to Sasuke that a team effort was better than a singular one. Still, they would be cursing his name soon enough, with the D-rank missions that they were about to do. Including catching that damned cat. Name, Kakashi Hatake, aka the Copy Ninja, aka Sharingan Kakashi. Notes, I have mixed feelings about our new teacher. On the one hand, he's an incorrigible pervert, reading Ika books publicly with not a care in the world, lazy, perpetually late, and has a seemingly apathetic attitude. On the other hand, he cares a lot about teamwork, and praises our abilities at the right times. He's also a famous prodigy, the student of the 4th Hokage, and was also former ANBU. You can't get into ANBU without being amongst the best of the best. I have to give it to him, his laid-back attitude is sort of reassuring. He knows when to be stern, and when to be supportive. And he's not afraid to answer some questions I have about certain issues. He's also given me pointers on how to improve my taijutsu, and while the physical training is strenuous and tedious, I know it'll be worth it when we finally do other missions. Distinguishing marks and characteristics. Perpetually wears a mask over his nose and mouth. Keeps his headband slanted over his left eye, I asked him, and he admitted it was to conceal the Sharingan underneath. It was apparently implanted, and can't be turned off like if he was an Uchiha, so he needs to starve it of vision in order to avoid chakra drain. Often reads Ika books publicly. Skills. According to the bingo book and the man himself, he has copied a multitude of jutsus with his Sharingan. However, he has 2 distinctive signature moves of extreme power, both related, the Chidori or Thousand Birds, so named because the lightning chakra, gathered around the fist, sounds like a massive flock of chirping birds, and the Raikiri or lightning cutter. Both are powerful lightning-based techniques. He is also knowledgeable in a variety of areas necessary for a jounin and a former member of ANBU. D-rank missions, amounting to little more than chores of varying arduousness. Sakura couldn't help but share her teammates' annoyance at these missions, even though she knew that their purpose was to help bind the team together, do training through some of the tougher physical challenges of these chores, and even earn some money. Naruto couldn't dispute with the latter, in any case. It was the night a few days after the bell test that Sakura got an inkling of an idea. It was while she was studying books on chakra control techniques and ninjutsu, hoping to do them while waiting for the frequently tardy Kakashi. She realized that, until she built up her chakra reserves, she may not be able to do as many of the flashy ninjutsu that Sasuke or Naruto could. But there was something she had an idea for. She realized, during her fight with Kakashi, that she lacked many tools to make a quick getaway. True, she could have used a flash bomb or a smoke bomb, but those were also commonplace, and could be anticipated. And a genjutsu wasn't guaranteed to work. She happened to be looking through lists of various ninjutsu, when it occurred to her. Some ninja use chakra to light their way while infiltrating dark places. So chakra being able to create light was already known, even beyond the appearances of ninjutsu. And some genjutsu actually did the same thing, instead of being foreign chakra in the victim. They were constructs of light. Suddenly, this was a revelation. If one exploited that ability of chakra to manifest as light, what could you do with it? She immediately hit upon two possible uses. The first was basically a chakra-made flash bomb, designed to blind or at least dazzle the enemy. The second was an intense but directional light, designed to be used as a signal to fellow shinobi. It hit her, as she tried to go to sleep that night, that she might be the founder of an entirely new branch of ninjutsu, Hikaritan, or light release. Sakura Haruno, the founder of an entire new branch of ninjutsu. She liked the sound of that, perhaps more so than being the future Mrs. Sasuke Uchiha. If she founded an entirely new branch of ninjutsu, her name was guaranteed to go down in history, like the very woman she idolized, Tsunade. She stayed up late, flicking between the ninjutsu list and her notes of hand signs. Maybe she would have something ready. At the training ground where they were to meet Kakashi for the day's training, no D ranks, today, Sakura found Sasuke brooding, and Naruto doing some taijutsu practice. Rather sloppily, but he seemed to be enjoying himself. Sakura greeted them, before she went to one of the nearby trees, concentrated, and then began walking up it. Sasuke and Naruto watched as Sakura walked up the side of the tree with only her feet, turned around, and then walked back down. Well, that was easier than I thought, she mused. How did you do that, Sakura? That was amazing, Dadabayo. That was the tree climbing exercise, dope, Sasuke said. I've heard of it. It's a chakra control exercise, and I thought, since Kakashi's going to be late again, that I might try something productive. Hell, you guys could try it too. Both of them rose to the challenge. Sasuke got a smirk, while Naruto cheered, and upon being given basic instructions by Sakura, tried instantly to run up the tree only for him to slip down and hurt himself. Not badly. In fact, the way he rolled around on the ground, clutching his head, was actually quite amusing. Sasuke didn't get far up the tree either, before he was repelled from the tree by putting too much chakra into it. He scowled. Sakura took it upon herself to try and tutor the two boys, and very gradually, they improved under her guidance. Soon, while they tried to make their way up the tree, Sakura began to walk up and down the tree, while making her notes on Hikaritan. It was a good exercise to walk up and down the tree while trying to focus on something else. It probably meant her chakra control was getting fine-tuned. It did depress her a little to consider that the reason behind the boys' relative lack of success at the exercise so far was that they actually had larger chakra reserves than she did. Sasuke could pull off fairly high-ranking jutsus already, and Naruto, of course, had both the Uzumaki trait of high chakra reserves, as well as the Kyuubi within him. But she also knew that by doing this exercise she would be building up her reserves. She had to take a couple of breaks when she began depleting her reserves of chakra. As she did those breaks, she worked on her new jutsus. Naruto was curious, and so was Sasuke, despite his usual apathetic attitude. They were bemused and astonished to learn that she was trying to develop a whole new branch of ninjutsu, though she didn't give them exact details. Sasuke looked both skeptical and intrigued at the concept. Naruto was supportive in his usual effusive manner. By the time Kakashi finally arrived with a lazy yo, she had finished her notes for the first jutsu. You're late, Naruto screamed. Well, I got lost on the road of life, Kakashi began. You've used that one before, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura noted, as she kept walking up and down the tree. Well, at least you've made good use of your time, Kakashi said, with one of his distinctive smiles, the one where his eyes seemed to smile, even with the rest of his face hidden. I would have taught you tree climbing exercises before long, but it's good to see my cute little genin team taking the initiative. Well, today, we will continue with taijutsu training. Kakashi-sensei, I wanted to ask a favor, actually. I know my taijutsu needs work, but I had some ideas for something, and I would like a second opinion. Oh? Very well then. Kaige Bunshin no Jutsu. A pair of clones of Kakashi appeared, and took Naruto and Sasuke with them. So, what can I help you with, Sakura? It's like this. I know you've created your own techniques, like the Chidori and the Raikiri, and you know a lot about how jutsus work, having copied so many. Oh, stop, Sakura, Kakashi said with a giggle. You're making me blush. Sakura gave him a brief glare, before saying, anyway, I had an idea for an original jutsu. In fact, I think I may be on the verge of founding an entire new branch of ninjutsu. Kakashi suddenly became serious all of a sudden. Eventually, he said, Are you sure, Sakura? I think so. I call it Hikaritan, or light release. Here are the notes for my first jutsu. Hikaritan Senku 1. Light release flash, huh? Kakashi said. Yes. It's meant to be an emergency substitute for a flash bomb, or else it can be used to blind the enemy in order to either flee or launch an attack while they're blinded. Kakashi whistled and took the notes and perused them carefully. After a few minutes, he handed the notes back, his expression stern. Well, unfortunately, that jutsu will never work. I see what you're doing there, but if you tried that, you'll just end up wasting a lot of chakra and create little more than a slight glow. Sakura sagged. No, she moaned. Had she failed completely before she could even properly start on her path? That being said, Kakashi said before Sakura could get any more down, if you altered this hand sign here, and that one as well, he showed her a couple of corrections, as well as one hand sign that needed to be removed, and a couple added. And there you have it. With those revisions, it should work. Sakura's eyes widened. How could she have not seen some of those corrections? She hurriedly edited her notes, making the necessary alterations. That was a very good first try, Sakura, Kakashi said with a reassuring, even paternal smile. Very few ninjas have tried creating an entirely new jutsu at your age, and that you made it that far is commendable. True, it is not an offensive jutsu like my Chidori or my Raikiri, but I can see this being taught in the academy. Your jutsu may seem useless at first glance in a fight, but against a powerful foe, it can be the difference between life and death, giving you a chance to, as you said, either flee or attack them while they are blind. The main drawback with it is that it requires fairly strong chakra control, at least high genin level. You have high genin level control though. And if I'm right, it should be used as a last resort, as the sheer amount of light being released would draw attention from far away. But it's a very good concept, Sakura. Thank you, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura looked thoughtful. Should I test it to see if it works? Sure. Do you have anyone in mind as a test subject? An impish smile came over her features. Actually, I do. Sorry, Naruto, but Kakashi-sensei has helped me refine my new jutsu, and we needed your help in testing it. Naruto blinked before cheering. Yeah. Okay, I'll help you test it. Then, a thought occurred to him. It won't hurt me, will it? It's not lethal, Sakura said. And it doesn't wound you. He seemed a bit uncertain, probably sensing her evasion. Okay. Well, let's do it, Databeo. Sakura took a couple of deep, calming breaths before she went through the hand signs as quickly as she could, molding her chakra. She'd have to make it as quick as possible if it was a battle situation. Then, cupping her hands in front of her body and shutting her eyes tight, she cried out, Hikaritan Senku. She could see the massive, strobing light even through her eyelids. Naruto screamed in pain and fright, and as the glare faded, Sakura opened her eyes to find Naruto rubbing his eyes. Damn it, Sakura, what did you do? I blinded you. Temporarily. I hope. Oh, he'll be fine, Sakura, Kakashi said, offhandedly. I have to admit, that's a powerful technique. One day, we should test it on my Sharingan, see if it affects Jujutsu more or less than normal eyes. Eventually, Naruto regained his eyesight after a few minutes of blinking and snarling in annoyance. Holy crap, that was bright. Naruto complained. Sakura, give me a bit of warning next time. If I warned you, it wouldn't have been an effective test. Thanks for helping me, Naruto. You've helped with making an entirely new form of jutsu. Naruto blinked, before leaping into the air. Yes. I helped make a new form of jutsu. Yes. As he danced and capered around the training ground, Kakashi sighed. One moment, he's annoyed with you, and the next, he's happy. Anyway, congratulations, Sakura, on a job well done. Now, we'll have to continue work on your taijutsu. It's good to play on your strengths, but overly specializing is not a wise course of action. Sakura sighed resignedly. Even so, she couldn't help but cheer inwardly. She had managed to achieve something great, an entirely new jutsu. The start, she hoped, of something great. Sakura hated that bloody cat. There weren't enough adjectives in the dictionary to properly describe the sheer odium she felt towards the cat. There weren't enough expletives in their language that could help Sakura vent her fury, and considering that she tried to keep a certain amount of decorum, even as a kunoichi, this was saying something, and she knew that the feeling was mutual with the other members of Team 7. While she was all for D-rank missions teaching them teamwork and giving them much-needed physical training, she also detested the fact that they were used to dump all sorts of menial tasks on genin teams, with the worst of them all catching the cat of the daimyo's wife. Tora was considered to be a demon amongst genin teams. And for all the fact that she hated Naruto's disrespectful whining to the Hokage, she had to admit privately that he had a point. While ninja missions weren't meant to be glamorous, a misconception Naruto seemed to insist on having, they weren't meant to be so bloody tedious. Getting bored while looking after a merchant or something was one thing, but doing the same thing over and over ad nauseum was getting ludicrous. She wanted to do something where her skills might be useful. Nothing too bad, just escorting someone to safety against bandits. A simple C-rank mission. Naruto's badgering of the Hokage after their latest capture of Tora managed to get results, though. Not exactly the ones she wanted, though. They did get a C-rank, But the mission was the escort a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna, who clearly had as high an opinion of himself as his current blood alcohol reading, and a low opinion of the genin team who was assigned to him. The bearded old man even had a sake bottle in his hand, not to mention eyes bloodshot and ruddy face from his drinking. He was to be escorted back to his homeland of Wave Country, as Naruto had to be held back by Kakashi from attacking the old man after he insulted their ability, calling Naruto and Sasuke little brats, and Sakura a little girl. Sakura decided to give the old drunkard a fright. What she did wasn't exactly a shunshin, just a burst of speed, leaving behind a clone that rippled and faded. She was behind him within a second. Then, she said, in a deadpan tone, "Boo!" Tazuna leapt into the air, nearly spilling his sake bottle. As he turned on the girl in fright and anger, he found a kunai casually pointed near his belly. "This little girl is deadlier than you," she said quietly. "And both of my fellow genin are better than me." Now, Sakura," Kakashi chided, albeit with a playful tone. "No scaring the clients. Just teaching Mr. Tazuna here that appearances can be deceiving," she said, with a sweet, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, smile, lowering the kunai as she did so. Tazuna's mouth worked up and down like a spasmodic ventriloquist's dummy, before he finally said, "Okay, girl, you've made your point. Okay, team, we'll need to pack for at least a 2-week mission. We'll meet at the gates tomorrow morning," Kakashi announced. Should be a simple enough mission. As it turned out, it wasn't. Of the 5 people present, only 3 took note of the large puddles they passed several hours out from Konoha. And only 2 realized something was amiss. Sakura, Sasuke, and Kakashi realized that there shouldn't have been puddles there, as it hadn't rained for some time, not to mention it was a sunny and fairly hot day. Sasuke had dismissed it as irrelevant. Kakashi and Sakura recognized it as being potential enemy action. Kakashi, noticing Sakura about to look back at the puddles, drew her attention to him, and shook his head ever so slightly. Sakura gave a slight nod in reply. Kakashi was trying to draw someone out, it seemed. That was the only explanation she could think of to ignore such a potential threat. Suddenly, she heard a noise behind them, and she whirled to find, emerging from out of the puddles, a pair of ninja, dressed in ragged garb and wearing respirators. Their headbands had the distinctive insignia of Kiri, the village hidden in the mist. They wore metal gauntlets, joined by a vicious, bladed chain. And to her horror, they leapt forward and wrapped said chain around Kakashi, who seemed to have been taken by surprise. Just before they used their chains, and everything went to hell, Sakura knew who they were, thanks to the bingo book she had read some time ago. Gozu and Meizu, the demon brothers, rogue Chunin-level ninja from Kiri, having fled after attempting to assassinate the Mizuki. Noted not only for their chain attack and coordination, but also poison on their weapons, including their gauntlets. Then, they pulled on their chains, and Kakashi disappeared into a cloud of blood and offal that rained onto the ground in a gory shower. Only Sakura realized that it was a genjutsu. Interspersed with the images of Kakashi turning into wet chunks of bloody meat, was a log, turned into wood chips. He had substituted himself with a log at the last moment. Thankfully, the demon brothers hadn't noticed. "Shut!" Sakura yelled. It was her signal to Sasuke and Naruto to shut their eyes. Going through the hand seals as fast as she could, as the demon brothers prepared to attack Naruto, she put out her cupped hands and yelled, "Hikaritan, Senku!" The demon brothers squawked through their respirators as their eyes were seared by the strobing flash of light, and Naruto leapt into the air to avoid their charge, having barely been shaken out of his shock of seeing Kakashi apparently die by Sakura's command. "Damn!" one of them screamed as they tumbled to the ground in an undignified sprawl. "Bitch, I'm gonna take you out before we get the old man." Sasuke sneered, and kicked one in the head, while Naruto did the same to another, knocking the belligerent brothers out. And then, Kakashi appeared with a shunshin nearby. "Excellent work, you 3, Sakura sighed in exasperation, while Naruto and Sasuke emitted sighs of relief. "Did you just use the ancient ninja art of not telling us what you were doing?" Kakashi did that smiling thing with his eye again. "Of course. I noticed that you saw through my substitution and genjutsu, Sakura. A prodigious feat for your age and experience. Well done. You all did very well, although my main reason was not to see how well you did, but to see who these 2 were really after. They could have been targeting us, or in all likelihood me. Or they could have been after Tazuna." Kakashi's demeanor changed from cheerful to grim, even angry as he approached the bridge builder. Which turned out to be the case. "You paid for a C-rank mission, which is for protection against bandits and brigands. Not against ninja, especially not those targeting you for an assassination, rogue or not. That makes this a B-rank mission at the very least. It was very fortunate for you that my genin team managed to hold up so well against these 2 Chunin. Because if the demon brothers had killed them, but had failed to kill you by some miracle, I would have. Lying about the potential rank of a mission is a serious offense, so I suggest that you tell the truth starting now." Sakura shivered at the amount of killing intent Kakashi let loose at that moment. Tazuna didn't take long to break, especially as he was a bit stunned and dazzled by Sakura's jutsu. And the story he told was a chilling one that explained very well why he couldn't pay them. Wave Country had recently fallen under the power of Gato. Although Gato was officially a shipping baron, Even Sakura had heard of shady rumors around the man, that he was involved in illicit trafficking of all kinds, from drugs to slaves. Wave Country had all but been taken over by Gato not long ago, with the diminutive tycoon controlling the shipping on and off the island nation, and used bribery to keep in power with the political authorities. In truth, Gato was becoming king in all but name of Wave Country, and a brutal despot at that. Everything that he could gouge out of Wave, he did so, without any semblance of mercy. Any resistance against him, he brutally crushed. Tazuna was working against that though. He was trying to build a bridge to the mainland, so that goods could be delivered over said bridge, to break Gato's stranglehold. But during a trip to the mainland of Fire Country to try and hire equipment, and obtain building supplies, he heard that Gato was hiring assassins to deal with him. Tazuna had made it to Konoha by hitching a ride with some merchants who had already paid for a ninja protection detail, too, but once at Konoha, he was forced to lie. Wave had few funds left that Gato hadn't already taken for himself, and what little that hadn't been already committed to the bridge was all he could spare for this mission. Sakura felt sorry for the old man, but the truth was, he had already lied about the mission's rating. And they were out of their depth, or at least the 3 genin were. Kakashi could probably handle this mission. Naruto, however, resolved to continue on. And Sakura hoped, with any luck, that they wouldn't encounter any more rogue ninja. Or at least nobody more dangerous than the demon brothers. They had gotten very lucky. Kakashi-sensei, would the bounty on these two cover any good part of the difference in fee? Sakura asked as a thought occurred to her. Part of it, but not all of the difference. We will continue though. Truth be told, someone like Gato could encroach on our territory if he tightens his hold on Wave Country anyway. So we'll continue. Sakura sensed that, despite the pragmatic answer of her teacher, he too was reluctant to leave Wave Country to the predations of Gato. So she resolved to help Tazuna as well. The trip over the ocean to Wave Country was done covertly over the mist-laden ocean well, as covertly as possible when you have Naruto involved, though at least he understood the need for quiet once it was explained to him. Sakura was as impressed by the massive bridge as Naruto was, she had to admit. It was clear why Tazuna and the fishermen ferrying them over saw it as a sign of hope. With the demon brothers out cold, Kakashi couldn't interrogate them as to who their master might be. He decided that getting Tazuna back home swiftly meant more. During the boat trip, he asked Sakura to see if there was anything in the bingo book about known associates, particularly amongst rogue ninja from Kiri. She flicked through the book, and what she found was disturbing. There was always the possibility that they could have been hired by Gato independently, but they had been known, on occasion, to work for another ninja with the appellation of Demon. She remembered seeing the man's entry while waiting for Kakashi on their first day as Team 7, and trying hard to forget what she had read. She reluctantly told Kakashi what she suspected, that they may have one of the most infamous Jounin-level rogue ninja from Kiri after them. Kakashi nodded, and told everyone to be alert. Naruto, it seemed, took these words a little too closely to heart, as he threw a kunai into the bushes, only for a rabbit to stumble out, frightened. Kakashi and Sakura, however, realized something at the same time. No wild rabbit would have a coat that well-groomed, and certainly not have that pure white coat at this time of year, not for the breed. It had been kept indoors, and used for substitution. Someone had been in those bushes, and had used the rabbit to lull them into a false sense of security by substituting with it. Kakashi roared, down. Even as Sakura was pushing Tazuna down on instinct, a massive sword spun overhead, and embedded itself into a tree. And to Sakura's horror, a very familiar ninja appeared, perching himself on the handle of the gigantic sword. Tall, muscled, his lower face concealed by bandages, he was certainly intimidating enough, perched on his sword. But Sakura knew who it was. She had seen that face in the bingo book. Quick, she hissed at Sasuke and Naruto. Manji position, around Tazuna. That's Zabuza Momochi, a Jounin-level rogue ninja. Kakashi is the only one that can handle him, so the girl knows who I am? Zabuza asked in his low rasp of a voice. I am flattered to be chief amongst the nightmares of a lowly Konoha genin. He then looked down at Kakashi. And here is Kakashi of the Sharingan, the copy ninja. You three stay back. Protect Tazuna at all costs, Kakashi said, reaching for his headband. I'll need to go all out. As he raised the headband, revealing the Sharingan concealed beneath, Zabuza seemed to smirk beneath his bandages. The Sharingan, so soon? It's something of an honor to be taken seriously enough that you'd need that. You aren't my concern, though. The bridge builder is. His life is forfeit. Yours aren't necessarily. You can take your brats playing ninja, and go home. I'm sorry, but no. Kakashi tensed, ready to fight. Protecting him is our mission, admirable. But foolish. As Zabuza prepared to fight, Sakura tensed. Her heart pounded in her chest. She remembered what she had wanted, a more interesting mission than catching that bloody cat. Well, be careful what you wish for, she reflected with one of the few remaining calm parts of her mind, lest you actually get it. Unseen or unsensed by any participants in that battle was a boy, only a little older than the genin. Of course, his long, dark hair, beautiful, androgynous features, and slender body had caused many to mistake him for a girl when he was in mufti. He sometimes liked encouraging that, It was one of the few pieces of amusement that he could get, watching people's reactions when he told them he was actually a boy. However, at the moment, the boy was hiding said features behind the distinctive mask of Kiri's Hunter division of ANBU. Porcelain, with the distinctive symbol of Kiri on it, small eye slits and a small adornment of a red pattern, it helped serve his need for anonymity, as did the heavy clothing of a hunter. Haku, for that was his name, watched as Kakashi, the infamous copy ninja, faced off against his master, Zabuza, shortly after Zabuza had attempted to use his silent killing technique and failed. His job was to watch from concealment. If Zabuza needed backup during the battle, Haku was to provide it, upon Zabuza's signal. Should Kakashi prevail, and Haku, despite his high opinion of his master, was also no fool, Kakashi could theoretically prevail, Haku was to intervene, under the guise of a hunter, and pretend to kill Zabuza, before spiriting him away to heal him. That was his purpose, to be the tool of Zabuza Momochi, whether that be as killer or healer. He kept his eye not just on the fight between the two jounin though. He watched the reactions of the three Konoha genin, guarding the bridge builder. All three were watching in awe, even the dark-haired one, though his awe was understated, and marred by his habitual scowl. He looked at the three genin in turn. First, the dark-haired one. Cold, aloof, and supremely confident. He couldn't be sure, but perhaps this one might be an Uchiha. He thought it unlikely. The massacre of the Uchihas was infamous enough to reach even his ears when he traveled with Zabuza. Judging by his stance, he probably specialized in taijutsu and ninjutsu. Secondly, the blonde. The one who had nearly killed Yuki, Haku's rabbit. He looked like a dunce, especially in an orange jumpsuit that, even through the mist left over from Zabuza's technique, screamed "kill me now." But he had to be good enough to make a genin team, even by the relatively softer standards of Konoha, and Haku knew that to underestimate him wouldn't be a good idea. He might have some tricks up his sleeve. He certainly threw his kunai accurately enough that Zabuza needed to substitute himself with Yuki. And his chakra levels were certainly high enough to be noticeable, even with the jounin fighting. The same went for the girl with the pink hair and green eyes, at least as far as having tricks up her sleeve was concerned. Haku noted in an abstract way that she was rather attractive, despite or because of her prominent forehead. And he was pleased to note that, despite her obvious fear, she stood fast. Haku had known more than a few good kunoichi, but sometimes there were too many girls who wanted to play ninja instead of truly being one. He also noted the way her eyes played over the battlefield. She was analyzing the situation. Haku mentally applauded her. Still a physical weakling by the look of her. Probably used genjutsu and thrown weapons to compensate, perhaps even some basic ninjutsu. Soon, however, Zabuza had Kakashi out on the water, and had used the water prison jutsu. Haku thought impishly to himself that the famous copy ninja should have packed his water wings. 1. Kakashi yelled to his genin to flee, but Haku agreed with the blonde's yelled defiance that this would merely allow Zabuza to attack them. The blonde, whom Kakashi called Naruto, also pointed out that they didn't abandon comrades. The girl seemed to be taking decisive action. She yelled at them to shut and then, her hands went through a series of hand seals. Haku frowned beneath his mask. That didn't look like any jutsu he knew of offhand. It didn't correspond to any known elemental release he knew of, and Hikariton Senku, the girl yelled. Then, an actinic flare of brilliant white seared Haku's eyes, even through the slits of his mask. Haku managed to avoid crying out in pain, and falling off his branch in the tree, but it was like walking in on Kisame in the shower. Haku managed to barely avoid crying out again, this time in disgust at the mental image he had inflicted on himself. 2. Thankfully, he had been far enough away from the technique that his eyes recovered quickly enough. A small and analytical part of his mind analyzed that jutsu. He had never heard of light release jutsu before, but a simple powerful strobe of light was deceptively effective, as he could see now, as Zabuza was getting his R's handed to him by Kakashi. Zabuza had been closer to the strobe of light, and was still blind. He had fought blind before, true, but voluntary blindness through closing one's eyes or using a blindfold was different to being dazzled by an attack. Kakashi used the great waterfall jutsu, engulfing Haku's master in a massive torrent of water that sent Zabuza into a tree. Kakashi followed it up with multiple kunai, and said some portentous nonsense about it being Zabuza's last battle. Haku knew that his services were needed right now, lest that become reality. As Zabuza reeled from Kakashi's attacks, Haku sent a couple of saban needles into precise points in the brutal man's neck, sending him to the ground. Everyone present were surprised and awed at his sudden appearance. Haku took some small satisfaction from that. He loved a certain amount of theater. He also loved it when he had to put his master into a false death state. The process was painful, especially afterwards, and while his training under Zabuza had been necessarily brutal and painful, Haku did relish the few occasions when he could extract a small measure of payback. He viewed Zabuza as a father and his master, amongst many other adjectives, but Zabuza didn't have much in the way of paternal feelings, though to be fair, at least Zabuza had more than Haku's own father. You were right, Haku said in his soft voice, though he knew how to make it carry, despite the mask on his face. It was his last battle. Naruto, along with his two comrades, came up. Hey, what is this? How can this guy take out this monster so easily? Naruto, he's a hunter. He must be from Kirize and BU, the girl explained, trying to be patient. But Sakura, Naruto protested. He's barely older than we are. As Kakashi checked the pulse of Zabuza, Haku hopped down and approached, before giving a polite bow. Forgive me for not acting sooner. I wanted to catch him off guard. He has been my quarry for so long. He then looked to the girl, Sakura, and gave another bow. Your jutsu was impressive. Non-lethal, but very effective. I do not believe I have heard of Hikaritan. Thank you, Sakura said, blushing a little. It's a whole new jutsu she thought of. Naruto bragged. Kakashi shot Naruto a scowl. Naruto, even if he or she helped us, this ninja still comes from another hidden village. Do not divulge such information lightly. Haku looked at the girl with increasing respect. She had developed that jutsu herself? He bowed again, genuinely impressed and respectful. As I said, an impressive jutsu. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to discuss things. I must take the cadaver away. There are many secrets locked within Zabuza Momochi's corpse. It would not do to have those from another village witness this. Please excuse me. Haku took a hold of Zabuza's arms, as well as his sword, and said, May we meet again in more pleasant circumstances. Then, he used the Shunshin to vanish. Once he was far enough away from the Konoha ninja and their client, Haku used his tools to remove the samban. Knowing Zabuza was now conscious, but probably paralyzed, he got another tool from his kit, and said, Please excuse me, but I'll have to remove those bandages, lest you choke on your blood, master. As he made to cut away the bandages around Zabuza's mouth, Zabuza's hand snapped out and gripped Haku's, his bloodshot eyes glaring at him. Zabuza, with his other hand, removed the bandages, pulling them down himself so that he could cough up a goblet of blood. Damn it, Haku, I'm doing it myself. You made a hash of it last time. And do you need to go for the neck? There are plenty of other pressure points, true, but the neck is particularly vulnerable. Less muscle, less chance of hitting a vital organ, as long as I don't hit the spine or carotid arteries, and good pressure points. Zabuza scowled as he sat upright. I think it's because you're a sadist, Haku. I think you enjoy inflicting pain on me. Haku did, though he was no sadist. Instead, he smiled as he removed the ANBU hunter mask. Kakashi gave you something of a beating, didn't he? True, the rogue jounin said with a scowl. But he wouldn't have been able to break free if it weren't for that girl's technique. 3. I haven't seen a jutsu like that. Not surprising, Haku said. The blonde one, Naruto, admitted that the girl apparently formulated the jutsu herself. The copy ninja wasn't happy about that, Zabuza grunted. And here I was thinking the girl was the weakest link. Light release jutsu Hikaritan. Simple, but effective. I'll have to watch out for that in future. I'll also have to watch out for Kakashi's Sharingan. He copied my water clones easily enough to try and fool me. What about the other two? I'm not sure. I didn't see them in battle. But the dark-haired one is definitely skilled in taijutsu, if his stance was any indication. The blonde had high chakra reserves, and he was accurate with that kunai throw, Zabuza grunted. Help me back to the hideout. How long do you reckon I'll need before I can make another attempt? A week, between chakra exhaustion, injuries, and that false death state. Haku helped Zabuza to his feet, before using the Shunshin to bring his master back to their hideout, not far from Gato's headquarters. Haku didn't like Gato. He was a shortarse with a major inferiority complex. He felt disquiet at helping the man. Ninja were supposed to work with anyone who hired them, true, and Haku had worked with many brutal sadists, and not just Zabuza, but Gato was no shinobi. His power was, at best, fiscal, because he hired Ronin and other thugs to do his bidding. He couldn't fight worth a damn, and hid behind a ridiculous amount of people. He viewed his underlings as eminently disposable. Neither was Tazuna, though he at least had some courage in defying Gato, and not through military force either. He did so by building a bridge. Such a seemingly simple and seemingly ineffectual defiance. But even Gato knew that if the bridge was finished, his monopoly would be broken, if not shattered. Apparently Gato wanted to kill Tazuna, and then finish the bridge himself, with his own company. That way, he could charge exorbitant tolls to any who crossed it. There were few people Haku wanted to kill. He had issues about killing, save for self-defense, and even then, he tried to go for non-lethal options. But Gato, he wanted to kill, and he knew that Zabuza felt the same way. Which was why, a few days after the fight, when Gato came to call, Haku tried to ignore the pig's insults, calling his master a baby demon. But as he made to reach for Zabuza, Haku grabbed the man's hand and crushed it. Try to touch my master again, and I will confiscate your hands. The Ronin who had been with Gato drew their swords, only to have Haku appear between them, ready to kill them. Gato, with a snarl, dismissed them, but snapped at Zabuza and Haku, either Tazuna goes, or you go. He gave a particularly venomous glare at Haku, promising much for later. Haku merely gave him a level glare back. As Gato retreated, Zabuza said there was no need for that, Haku. Weak and I maybe. He pushed off part of his bedsheet, revealing he was holding a kunai at the ready, but defenseless I am not. Haku smiled. He did have faith in his master, but he couldn't help but feel protective. After some discussion, Haku decided to go, incognito, into a nearby wood to find medicinal herbs. He didn't know it, but it would lead into unexpected contact with the enemy. A meeting in the forest. After the battle with Zabuza, they had to help Kakashi to Tazuna's house. Kakashi was on the verge of collapse, and had stated that if Sakura hadn't used her technique when she had, he might actually have collapsed. As it was, he needed time to recover, as his chakra had been drained by his Sharingan. He also gave them the bad news, confirming a bad feeling Sakura had since that hunter had shown up. Zabuza was probably still alive, and the hunter was his accomplice. Sakura scowled when she heard Kakashi's reasoning, as she wished she had deduced that herself. True, he had the advantage of being a former member of ANBU, but she also knew one or two things about Hunter Ninja. True, using Senbon to kill an adversary sounded more like a personal quirk. Many a shinobi got those over time. But his reasoning based on the usual MOs of hunters was sound. Kakashi decided that, in order to be ready for Zabuza for when he returned, they needed to do some training of their own. Sakura and Sasuke had mastered the tree-walking exercises, so Naruto was asked to continue with them, while Kakashi helped Sakura and Sasuke with their jutsus. Sasuke already had an excellent repertoire of jutsus for someone his age. Kakashi training him was more about how to pick and choose jutsus for the situation at hand, as Sasuke tended to go for the strongest, flashiest jutsus first up. Kakashi pointed out that Sakura's own light release technique, while not actually strong, nonetheless helped win the battle yesterday. And Sasuke grudgingly accepted that. It was decided that Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura would rotate between guarding Tazuna and guarding his family, namely his daughter Tsunami and his grandson, a whiny brat called Inari, while Naruto perfected his tree climbing. Kakashi promised Naruto to teach him a jutsu once he had mastered it. Truth be told, it was a little early to teach his students jutsus, but they might need them, given that their chakra control was ahead of schedule. Sakura admitted that she had actually tested herself for elemental affinity. She had done so not long before graduation, so that she could start researching what jutsu she could use, though she needed to refine her chakra control. She had a primary earth affinity, with a slight water affinity, 1. Kakashi was astonished. Testing for elemental affinity was mostly reserved for jounin, or else interested chunin. He had asked her whether she had any chakra paper with her, but she shook her head. She hadn't thought about bringing any to test either Naruto or Sasuke. She also wanted to develop a new Hikaritan jutsu, so she spent her time divided between the Shinju-Zanshu no jutsu, or groundhog decapitation technique, which, while potentially hard to use on the bridge, might be of use in an emergency. She could use it to escape through the soil, and even the concrete of the bridge, and take Tazuna with her if necessary, and developing a new jutsu. Now that Zabuza and his accomplice had seen her first technique, it was about time she created a second. Not the signaling technique she wanted, though, but an offensive technique. When she was younger, she had once seen a boy using a magnifying glass to burn a line of ants. And that made her realize, now that she thought about that incident, that light, in the right way, had vast potential power. And that kids could be so cruel, but that was another matter. Light, if focused in the right way, could be ridiculously lethal. She had begun, on Kakashi's advice, not to take physical notes, or at least destroy them after doing what she needed to. He had suggested looking up mnemonic techniques in the library at Konoha the day before their latest catching of Tora, and she was now developing her own memory palace, too. Things came to a head one night during dinner when Inari just tearfully sneered at them for trying so hard when they were going to die. They had heard about the fate of his adoptive father earlier. Naruto seemed like he had had enough, but Sakura had too. She glared at him when he said they didn't know anything about suffering. Maybe I don't. But you've had it good compared to Sasuke and Naruto. You have a mother and a grandfather. Sasuke's entire family was exterminated by his own brother. And Naruto's parents died on the day he was born, and much of our village hate him for something he didn't do. So don't you dare talk about suffering, you ungrateful little shit. And with that, Sakura stormed upstairs, deciding that she needed to work on her new jutsu in peace. As she settled down at a low table, however, she realized that she had probably gone too far. Inari was only very young, and he had witnessed his father figure being murdered on Gato's orders in a brutal fashion. And it was unlike Sakura to swear, especially to a younger boy. There was a knock on the door, and when Sakura called out for the person to come in, she was surprised that it was Sasuke, and not Kakashi or Naruto, or even Tazuna or Tsunami. Sasuke? Sasuke nodded before sitting down on the other end of the low table. Naruto went off into the forest in a fit of pique. Kakashi is talking to the brat. You didn't need to say such things. Someone needed to put that brat in his place, Sakura said quietly. Are they angry at me? Tazuna and Tsunami are only a little. They know you're telling the truth. Sasuke looked at Sakura. You don't know suffering. But at least you care. Out of all the girls who have the slightest interest in me, you are the only one who has tried to do anything other than claim me as a prize. Sakura shook her head. Sasuke, I viewing you as a prize is stupid. I want to be a friend, I want to help you with your ambition. Sasuke scoffed, rather sadly she thought. Itachi told me that I couldn't afford to have anyone any attachments, lest I grow weak. And yet, without you or Naruto, I may not have passed Kakashi-sensei's test. Itachi was in a whole league of his own, from what I read. He is a traitor to Konoha. Killing him with us is no less glorious than killing him alone. He murdered my family, Sakura. Sasuke snarled. And he destroyed my love for him. I don't know what is worse. Do you know what he did, Sakura? Do you know what he did with those damned eyes of his? Sakura paled. Had there been more to the massacre? Quietly, she asked, what happened? For a moment, Sasuke prevaricated, before he said, with the air of a confession, he used a Genjutsu on me. The ultimate Genjutsu. Tsukuyami. Outside it, mere seconds passed. Inside, it felt like 3 days. 72 hours of absolute hell. Sasuke shuddered, his stoic facade broken. Itachi made me no, I can't talk about it. You don't have to, Sasuke nodded. Like I once told you, Sakura, you understand little. But it is better than those who understand nothing. I don't need your pity or your sympathy. All I want is that, if I do face Itachi in battle, then you will have my back. His fist clenched convulsively. I will prove that bastard wrong, and he will go to hell knowing that. Sakura went into the woods early to try and find Naruto, who hadn't come back. Her work on her Hikaritan technique had hit a brick wall, and she had left the rough notes with Kakashi to look over for advice while she tracked down Naruto. She found him in a clearing, sleeping. And someone else, with long black hair, and dressed in a pink kimono, with a basket nearby. The person reached down to Naruto, and then shook him awake. You'll catch your death of cold sleeping there, the person said in a soft voice that Sakura found familiar. Huh! Naruto was soon awake. Sakura made her presence known. Hey Naruto, are you alright? You didn't come home last night. Yeah, well, I was annoyed at the little brat too, Naruto said. The other person turned to face Sakura. Sakura, at first, couldn't tell whether the person was a boy or a girl, slightly older than either herself or Naruto. The features were androgynous, with full lips and a heart-shaped face, framed by long, black hair. Sakura eventually decided that the person was probably a boy, given the way he moved and stood. A very effeminate boy, true, but a boy regardless. Sakura felt somewhat on guard, partly because the boy was an unknown, and partly because his voice reminded her of something. And there was the fact that he was dressed in a somewhat immaculate kimono, despite the fact that many in Wave Country couldn't wear such nice-looking clothing. As the boy began gathering herbs from around, Sakura helped. She noticed that he began asking questions about whether they were shinobi, and where they had come from. While you could call that idle curiosity, Sakura was beginning to wonder whether the boy, who called himself Haku, was fishing for information. Then it hit her. That voice, it had been muffled by a mask, but she was sure it was the same voice as that of the hunter who had absconded with Zabuza. She suppressed her realization with an effort. Haku was clearly not here to try and assassinate them. If he was here getting medicine for Zabuza, it meant that he was merely using the opportunity to fish for information. She noticed he had asked a question about having precious people to protect. Sakura had to confess to herself, she didn't know of anyone she truly wanted to protect. True, she had her friends, but Haku seemed to imply a precious person, one whom you'd gladly, and without a second thought, sacrifice your life for. Sakura didn't know what to say to that. She honestly didn't know. To tell the truth, she thought that being a shinobi meant less about dying for one's village, and more about making the enemy die for their village. Naruto seemed to be less indecisive, and his answer seemed to please Haku. As Haku left, Sakura said, then allow me to escort you part of the way. Haku looked at her, surprised, before nodding. If you wish. By the way, Naruto, I'm a boy, not a girl. Sakura couldn't help but chuckle at Naruto's dumbfounded reaction, and Sakura led Haku away, passing Sasuke, giving him a nod. Look after him for the moment, will you? She asked. Sasuke nodded back in acknowledgement. As they reached a little further away, Sakura stopped. That was a nice trick with the Senban, Mr. Foe Hunter. Haku stiffened, before he turned back to her, his face a carefully schooled mask, though his eyes danced with sadness. So you knew? I guessed. I was sure I heard your voice before. You're not here to fight, are you? No. Are you going to fight me, Sakura? Only if you try. Zabuza's your precious person, isn't he? Why? Why do you admire someone like him? Haku approached her. There was no malice, no killing intent or aggression in the action. Your comrade blabbed about you developing that jutsu. In exchange for that, I will tell you why. I have a bloodline limit. And in Kiri and much of the land of water, including my village, having a bloodline limit is a death sentence. When my father learned of my mother, and I having bloodline limits, he killed her. And I killed him when he tried to kill me. I lived on the streets as an urchin, unwanted, until my master came along. Does that answer your question, Sakura? I guess so. But can't you see that Tazuna is doing good work for the people of this country? Sakura asked. Whether I see it or not, Sakura, is irrelevant, Haku said sadly. We are shinobi. Tools, weapons of war and assassination. We do what we are hired to do. You and your team are to protect Tazuna. My master and I are to kill him. It is merely bad luck that we end up on opposite sides, Sakura. You and your comrades are very interesting. And you seem like a pretty and intelligent girl. I would hate to kill you. The sad thing was, he seemed to mean it. Well, you seem like a pleasant and kind boy. I'd hate to die. 3. Haku chuckled briefly, before his face resumed a solemn mask. I am sorry, Sakura. But when we next meet, we will be opponents. And you will fall. I am ready for your jutsu now. I am sorry. Please do not think ill of me. Then, in a move that surprised her, he gently kissed her on her forehead, before turning to leave. Goodbye, Sakura. Then, without fear, he turned his back, and strode away into the forest. Sakura stared after him, stunned, as well as unwilling to show her back to an enemy ninja. Only when it had been some minutes after he left did Sakura turn and run back to Tazuna's house. Ah, Sakura! Kakashi said with his habitual hidden smile when she got back, Naruto and Sasuke already having gotten back. I've made a correction to the hand signs and are you alright? Sakura told him what had happened. Kakashi watched her thoughtfully, before saying, that was very dangerous, going after an enemy shinobi while alone. That was rather thoughtless of you, Sakura, which is unlike you. I didn't think he was going to hurt me or the others. Not at this point anyway. Haku had an opportunity to harm or kill Naruto, but he didn't. Indeed, I got the impression that he would rather not harm us. He also divulged some information, as compensation for Naruto blurting about my own jutsu. Oh? I've been going through the bingo book, and there are only brief mentions of Zabuza having an accomplice, with no details. Well, let's hear them. He has a bloodline limit, and his father killed his mother, and tried to kill him for it. Would that be true? It's very plausible, Kakashi said with a nod. Kiri is still in the middle of a civil war around bloodline limits. In fact, it would explain why Zabuza trusts Haku to watch his back. He'd have to be at least at a Chunin level, unofficially, in terms of skill and ability. Haku seems to admire Zabuza a lot, which, given that he was living on the streets before being taken in by him, is not surprising. He also seems to be compassionate. He doesn't want to kill us. But we will have to, won't we? Sakura asked bleakly. In all likelihood, yes. Or maybe not, Kakashi said. I've been asking Tazuna about what he knows of Gato's mindset, and putting it with what I know of the man. Gato is known for hiring rogue ninja, that much is known by Tazuna. But he's also a tightwad. Even before we set out on this mission, I knew Gato maximized his profits by keeping his workers on the smallest legal wages. This may only be a hypothesis at this point, but he may be hoping that we wipe each other out, or else weaken each other that he can mop us up. He has a private army of Ronin. Kakashi shook his head. Never mind. It's useless to speculate too much. Anyway, here's the jutsu with corrections. Well, a correction. I only had to change one hand sign. Given that your first Hikaritan jutsu has already become known to Zabuza and Haku, it is good to have another trump card, though doing what you are doing will be a drain on your chakra reserves. Sakura nodded. As she took the note, she said, I'll have to practice this later to make sure I get it right. Hikaritan Kauzen. It's really only the 2 syllables of Senku reversed, ironically enough, Kakashi remarked. Sakura nodded again. But now, it's not just a flash. A thought struck her. She had avoided Inari since last night, and had felt somewhat guilty at snapping at him, as richly deserved as said snapping was. The kid Inari, is he? I talked to him last night. You were a touch harsh with him, I'll admit, but he realizes the mistake he made. Sometimes, one needs such shocks to wake one from preconceptions. He's fine. I'll guard Tazuna today. Sasuke will guard the family. I think you should practice your new jutsu, and do so in an isolated area, away from any eyes, though preferably not too far away, given that the enemy is still in the area. Kakashi then closed his eyes and thought, before saying, So, how did your first kiss from a boy feel? Sakura's eyes widened, and she blushed, causing Kakashi to giggle. Of all the things for her perverted gadfly of a teacher to say, he just had to say that. Clash on the big bridge. A week after the battle with Zabuza, it was decided that Naruto would be guarding Tsunami and Inari, while he sent shadow clones with Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, and Tazuna. Kakashi had taught the two an interesting fact. Wind jutsu combined with a fire jutsu would enhance the fire jutsu. He had, on a hunch, taught Naruto a wind jutsu, Futon, De Tapa, or Great Breakthrough. Naruto had taken to it easily, and Kakashi reckoned that Naruto was probably a wind user, primarily. And his clones could use that very jutsu. Naruto had sulked at having to babysit Inari and Tsunami, but he understood the reasoning. As much as Inari pissed him off, he didn't want to let Gato get him or Tsunami in his clutches. And once he had been given a verbal bitch slap by Sakura, followed by a more calm explanation by Kakashi, Inari was at least trying to be less of a drama queen. Sakura had apologized to Tsunami and Tazuna, who had taken it in their strides. As much as they loved Inari, they had been at a loss at how to deal with his attitude. Sakura, once they got to the bridge, realized that they were in trouble. The mist was thick, the construction equipment around was broken, and workers were scattered like ninepins. And soon, Zabuza and Haku made their appearance, along with water clones of the infamous swordsman. The clones were swiftly dispatched by Sasuke. Sakura felt her heart sinking at the thought of having to fight Haku. Zabuza was a demon in human form, a man who reveled in blood and slaughter. He deserved death manifold times over. But Haku, she was sure, and funnily enough, so too was Kakashi, that the effeminate boy didn't like to kill. Her forehead, where he had kissed her, itched slightly. "Don't hide your face, Haku," Sakura called out. "You're going to kill us, then have the decency to look us in the eye when we do it." Haku stiffened, before he reached up and removed his hunter mask. "So, it really was him," Sasuke muttered. "I should have killed him when we had the chance." "Sasuke," Kakashi said quietly. "If you have to fight Haku, don't hold back. He's probably at Chunin level at the very least. And be careful, he admitted he has a bloodline limit." Meanwhile, Sakura tried to steady herself. Haku was an enemy ninja. He had to be stopped. That was all that mattered. His eyes met hers, and she looked away. Ironically, she found it easier to stare into the merciless orbs of Zabuza. "I'm onto your tricks now, girl. I must admit, your nifty little jutsu took me by surprise," Zabuza said. "But your new jutsu will die this day, along with you, and the bridge builder." "I'm not going to die easily," Sakura bit out angrily. "My jutsu will live beyond this day." "Well, if nothing else, you have fire in your spirit," Zabuza said. "I'll give you that, girl. You all do. But when water meets flames, the flames go out." Suddenly, the Naruto clone closest to them blinked. "Hey guys, a couple of Ronin just tried to kidnap Tsunami and Inari. The boss has just beaten the crap out of them," he said. Naruto had learned of the memory transfer effect of the shadow clones, and was using it to send messages. Zabuza and Haku shot each other looks. Kakashi remarked, "So, not going according to plan, huh?" "Not to our plan," Zabuza growled. "That asshole midget must have decided to take them hostage. Our concern is merely killing the old man, along with anyone stupid enough to be guarding or helping him. Speaking of which, Haku." "Attack." "Yes," Haku said with a brief nod, before he disappeared in a blur. Sasuke intercepted the effeminate teenager's attack, kunai meeting Senban. As Sasuke and Haku clashed, Kakashi said, "Sakura, Naruto, guard Tazuna. Let Sasuke deal with Haku." Zabuza frowned when he realized that there were at least half a dozen clones of Naruto. "Shadow clones? That's a bloody Jounin-level technique, and that brat can make them easily?" "Indeed," Kakashi said. Sakura, meanwhile, watched as Sasuke and Haku fought. Haku, however, revealed that he had laid the groundwork for a number of attacks, in the form of water puddles along the bridge. When holding Sasuke's kunai at bay, Haku's free hand went through a blur of hand signs. Hijitsu, Sensatsu Suisho. In the split second that it took for the water on the bridge to form into deadly needles, Sakura mentally translated that as secret art, 1,000 needles of death. But wouldn't it count as Suiton or water release? Or perhaps this was a jutsu Haku developed himself. Of course, most of her was screaming at Sasuke to evade the needles. Which thankfully he did, in the nick of time, though Naruto's clones weren't so lucky, dispelling in puffs of smoke. He then rained shuriken at Haku, before engaging him in an impressive taijutsu battle, sending Haku sprawling back at Zabuza's feet. Sakura was once again in awe of Sasuke's taijutsu. As Haku wiped some blood from his mouth, Zabuza sighed. "Haku, your tendency to show mercy is becoming annoying. You know that if you don't step it up, he'll kill you?" Haku nodded, and seemed to gather himself. "My apologies in advance," he said to the Konoha ninja, before he made another series of hand signs. Hayatan Maku Hayashu, demonic ice mirrors, Sakura thought. Hayatan or ice release was apparently very rare. Perhaps this was the bloodline limit Haku had spoken of. Around Sasuke, the water froze into a series of slabs of ice, each a perfect mirror. And as he stood gaping at this spectacle, Haku seemed to step into one of the mirrors. Even from her position, Sakura gasped as images of Haku appeared on every mirror. Kakashi raced forward, intending to help Sasuke, only for Zabuza to intercept him. "I'm your foe, Kakashi! Let the children play." Suddenly, within the dome of mirrors, Haku became a blur of motion. Sasuke reeled as a blizzard of Saban erupted from the mirrors. "Sasuke!" Kakashi and Sakura chorused. "Try to help him," Zabuza said, "and I killed the girl and the old man." "Damn it," Sakura thought, before she said quietly, "Mr. Tazuna, give me a moment." With all the speed and strength she could muster, she darted into a better position, before throwing a kunai as hard as she could to Sasuke. "Catch!" she yelled. The kunai, however, ended up in Haku's hand, who had emerged partially from one of the mirrors. "Thank you," he said politely. Suddenly, a shuriken whirled out of nowhere, and hit Haku in the face, sending him sprawling out of the mirrors. Naruto, the real deal, had arrived. Zabuza hurled shuriken at the bragging genin, only for Haku to intercept them. Haku, who was nursing a wound to his face from the shuriken, said he intended to fight them both. Naruto entered the dome of mirrors, much to Sasuke's frustration until Naruto pointed out they could combine their jutsus. A strong fire jutsu, with a wind jutsu it might be their best bet. The two genin proceeded with attempting to melt the mirrors. Sakura saw the surprise on Haku's face when some of the mirrors actually melted. But with a gesture they reformed. And the assault continued anew, to Sakura's increasing horror. Kakashi glared at Zabuza, who laughed. Fire your genin may have, but they do not have the strength to turn their heart to ice and take a life. Kakashi responded by pulling his headband up to reveal his Sharingan. Maybe, but I do, true enough. But even if you kill me, Kakashi, you can't stop Haku. His training has been brutal, he has become a living weapon with no regard for his own life, and his bloodline limit is something even I cannot beat. Of course, the same cannot be said about your Sharingan. With a series of hand seals, Zabuza once more began gathering the mist he had used in their last encounter. I could feel those damn eyes pounding at my head in retrospect, ready to cast Genjutsu. But I'm used to fighting blind. Are you? As the mist thickened, blocking her view of Sasuke, Naruto, and Haku, and hiding Zabuza, Sakura squeezed Tazuna's hand gently. Get ready, she hissed quietly. He nodded. Yesterday morning, they had practiced with the groundhog decapitation technique as an emergency escape plan, with her just barely able to do the technique with one-handed seals. As a silent signal to hold his breath while underground, she would squeeze his hand as hard as she could without injuring him. Sakura, protect Tazuna. Kakashi called, even as his form was obscured by the mist. Seconds later, they heard Kakashi and Zabuza clashing briefly. Then silence. A silence as thick as the mist around them. Suddenly, Sakura's instincts screamed at her, and squeezing Tazuna's hand hard, she used the groundhog decapitation technique. As they sank into the concrete together, Tazuna emitting a startled yelp, she was gratified to see Zabuza, in mid-swing with his sword, looking at her in surprise. The last thing she saw, though, was Kakashi intercepting the blade. Haku looked at his victims. He mused that the amount of saban sticking out of them made them resemble hedgehogs. Naruto was panting in agony, while Sasuke was struggling to stay on his feet. A shame he had to do this to them. He was trying to make them weak enough so he could administer the finishing blow, not necessarily a lethal one, but something to make sure they wouldn't be in the way of Zabuza and Haku when they killed Tazuna. Haku frowned, though, inwardly. Naruto's clone had mentioned two Ronin, probably Gato's, attacking Tazuna's family. That wasn't part of the plan, and Gato gave Haku a bad feeling. Haku heard the concrete shift and moved just outside the dome, and then, a horrified gasp from Sakura and Tazuna when they saw the conditions of Sakura's comrades. You sadistic bastard! Sakura screamed angrily. That comment actually hurt. Haku formed an image on the outward side of the mirror facing Sakura. She looked angry. Understandably so. Your friends are rather tenacious, Haku said. You should be proud of them, and I'm supposed to like what you're doing to them. Sakura snarled. Release them, now. I'm sorry, Sakura, but I cannot do that. Sakura's hands blurred through a series of hand signs. It wasn't a request. Hikariton Kauzen! She screamed. She then pointed her index finger at the mirror. Haku's instincts screamed at him to get out of the way, and he noted, as he fled to the top mirror, that Sasuke had dropped to the ground. Haku watched in surprise and awe as a beam of light lanced out from Sakura's finger, and began eating into it. Within a few seconds, the light beam pierced through the mirror, and it shattered. With a berserker scream, Sakura, somehow sustaining the beam, moved it horizontally, destroying more mirrors in the process. Even the strongest ice melts under the light of a summer day. Sakura screamed. Then, the beam stopped. And Haku noted that Sakura was panting, looking exhausted. Haku reformed his ice mirrors, but he was beginning to run out of chakra. However, it seemed that Sakura had come dangerously close to chakra exhaustion. Appearing before her once more, Haku said, Your chakra levels are on the wane. A brave attempt, but foolish to exhaust your chakra on a single attack. Please do not try anything else, Sakura. Damn you, hissed Sasuke, from within the ice mirrors. And when Haku brought his attention back to him, he realized that something had changed. With a start, he realized Sasuke now had Sharingan. His irises were blood red. His left eye had one tomo, and the right two tomo. So he was an Uchiha after all. So you too have a bloodline limit, Haku observed, masking his surprise. Inwardly, though, he was worried. He was still expending chakra to keep the mirrors up, and even with an immature Sharingan, Sasuke would prove to be a threat. I need to end this. Let's hope that he values the life of Naruto enough to react, Haku thought, before he made his move, targeting the prone blonde boy. And as he had hoped, Sasuke moved to protect him. Haku hit the right parts. Not enough to send him into a false death state instantly, but enough to make him, and any who watched, think Sasuke was dying. Unfortunately, Haku miscalculated. He thought this would demoralize the enemy, or else provoke an easily stoppable rage. Then again, how was he to know about Naruto's secret? Sakura watched what happened in absolute horror. Sasuke saving Naruto, Naruto rousing himself from his injuries and blood loss to see Sasuke impaled by a ridiculous amount of saban. And then, Sasuke collapsing, Naruto supporting him. Then, Sasuke uttered his last words. I swore that I wouldn't perish until I made Itachi pay for his crimes. I thought that vow would keep me going, but don't you dare die. As he slumped, Sakura stared in horror, tears glistening in her eyes. Naruto cradled Sasuke's body. And she could do little about it. Her Hikariton, Kauzen attack had taken a lot out of her. Another attack might put her into a dangerous state of chakra exhaustion. And then, that damned dog of Zabuza spoke. He looked sad as well, even as he re-entered the mirror. A fine warrior, one who moved without hesitation to attack me, and save you, even knowing it was a trap. He deserves the utmost respect. Looking at Naruto, and at Sakura, he said, "This is the first time a comrade of yours has perished, isn't it? But the path of a shinobi is littered with blood and bodies." "Shut up." Sakura heard the strangled, hoarse voice of Naruto emerge from the boy. And almost instantly, she had a very bad feeling about it. It wasn't just grief and anger in those two words. And she was getting this strange sensation, a sensation as if wrath and darkness and malevolence was becoming so palpable it was killing intent with capital letters. "No forgiveness," Naruto growled in a bestial, distorted tone. And Sakura, when she saw Naruto's face, felt a thrill of terror. The whisker marks on his face had darkened. Chakra the color of flames purled around him. And his eyes had become blood red, and with slit pupils. "Die!" Naruto snarled at Haku. And it was at this moment that Sakura realized that things had gotten a whole lot worse. In fact, a small part of her actually felt sorry for Haku. The rest of her mind was screaming in fear. "The Kyuubi!" she screamed in her head. "It's breaking free! We're all going to die!" Suddenly, Naruto sprang into action. As he charged, Haku flung Saban, only for a roar from the berserk Jinchuriki to halt them in midair. Haku then tried diving onto Naruto from above, but the rampaging boy dodged, and then grabbed his opponent's arm, a cacophonic bellow causing the mirrors to vibrate and crack. Then, with a sneer, Naruto punched Haku in the face, hard, sending him sprawling through the mirrors, and knocking Sakura and Tazuna down with him. Sakura watched, even as she struggled to get to her feet with the dazed Haku on top of her, as the dome of icy mirrors cracked, and then shattered, to reveal Naruto, still wreathed in the burning chakra of the Kyuubi. He looked like something out of a nightmare, an implacable, unstoppable force. What is he?" Haku asked, dazed, as his head lolled, bloody drool oozing from his mouth. "Your worst nightmare," Sakura grunted. Suddenly, Naruto was upon them in a flash, a vicious grin on his face as he prepared to attack. Only, he seemed like, in order to kill Haku, he was willing to kill Sakura as well. "Naruto!" Sakura screamed. To her surprise, Naruto halted, a scowl coming over his face, the fiery chakra fading, his eyes becoming the sapphire color they normally were, and the whisker marks lightening. Even so, the snarl he emitted was guttural as he grabbed Haku by the shoulders and slammed him against the side of the bridge. "You bastard!" he snarled through tears. "I killed your friend, your comrade, and yet you hold back?" Haku asked. Having gotten to her feet, Sakura, frowning, gestured for Tazuna to come with her, and she walked gingerly over to the body of Sasuke. She knelt down next to him and felt Sasuke's body. So cold and no sign of a pulse. Tears began to well up inside her. And yet an idea occurred to her. "Did you actually kill him?" Sakura asked. It was quiet, but it carried over to Haku. She saw him look at her, startled. "I did," he said. "And yet you put Zabuza into a death-like state with these." "You said you didn't want to kill us," Sakura said. "So if I remove these, then he might revive." As she reached for them, he yelled, "Don't." "Why? If he is dead like you said, what will that do?" She realized that she had called his bluff. He pushed Naruto out of the way, and stumbled woozily over to Sakura. "If you remove them improperly, he may yet die anyway," Haku said. "You mean he wasn't dead?" Naruto snarled. "You tricked me, and got beaten for my troubles," Haku said with a wry, if sad smile as he knelt next to Sasuke, and began delicately removing the saban. Tears began to glisten in the young shinobi's eyes as he did so. Compassion and mercy to an enemy is a weakness they will exploit. But it is an empty and meaningless life when one is alone and unloved, and defeat has robbed one of their dream. "What do you mean?" Sakura demanded. Haku chuckled with hollow mirth. "My master has no use for weak shinobi such as myself. Therefore, I have no reason to live. You know something of my story, Sakura. I lived my life shunned, unwanted, and unloved after my father learned of my bloodline limit. Only Zabuza saw it for something other than something to fear. I became his tool, to strike where it was needed. But now, I am a blunted tool, of no use to him." Sakura stared at Haku. She remembered how isolated Naruto was, how isolated Sasuke had made himself. Eventually, Haku finished his work. He will come to shortly, though he will be unable to fight. Now I have one last request. He closed his eyes briefly, trying to make himself serene. "I want you to kill me. Either of you." "That's crazy!" Naruto snapped. "Are you so used to being the best that you can't take a single defeat?" "Naruto!" Sakura snarled before saying to Haku, "There's more to your life than being Zabuza's minion, Haku. You're better than him. You're not disposable." Haku gave her a look, before he said, "You're not disposable, Sakura. You're a one-of-a-kind bloom. And you, Naruto, we have a certain kinship, you and I. But in order to finish your mission, you'll have to bloody your hands. I hope you can forgive me that much." Naruto grimaced, gathering himself, before he said, "Sakura, give me some space, please." Sakura nodded before she moved Tazuna and herself a little further down the bridge. They heard a pained yelp of surprise from Zabuza. Then, soon, they heard the crackle of electricity, and saw a strobing, crackling light. Haku seemed to notice it too, just as Naruto had psyched himself up to kill the androgynous teenager. As Naruto lunged, kunai in hand, Haku seemed to resolve himself, a hardness coming into his eyes. He intercepted Naruto's attack. "I'm sorry, Naruto, but my usefulness isn't over." But Sakura realized what he was about to do. With an effort, her hands blurred through the hand signs, and she yelled Hikaritan Senku. Just as he began to move, Haku's eyes caught the full brunt of the brilliant strobe of light. Blinded, startled, he lost his footing, tripped, fell, and hit his head hard against the ground. It was all Sakura could do to stay on her feet now. The last couple of jutsus had drained her reserves. She could only hope that she had made a difference. Kakashi lunged forward, even as he saw, briefly, a strobe through the chakra-laden mist. His target, Zabuza, was immobilized by his ninja dog summons. The lightning chakra of his Raikiri, or lightning blade, crackled around his right hand. Zabuza's eyes widened as he comprehended the fact that he was dead, that Kakashi's predictions were not so much theater and bombast. All that was needed was for the lethal jutsu to penetrate his chest, and it happened. Kakashi felt his hand go through Zabuza's chest like a hot knife through butter, ribs powdering, most of the heart, and the left lung annihilated. Blood burst out of the exit wound in a grotesque shower. Zabuza froze, before emitting a grotesque chuckle. Only the man's sheer willpower was keeping him alive. "Guess you were right, copy ninja." Kakashi withdrew his hand, and his dog summons dissipated. "This is the end for you, Zabuza." "I'm no fool, but Haku." Zabuza turned around, unsteadily. "Too soft, too kind, he'll fit in at Konoha, take him." Kakashi was surprised at Zabuza's request, but nodded, even as he shook the man's blood from his hand. "I'll do my best." Zabuza nodded before he sagged to his knees. His last words as he collapsed in a pool of his own blood were heard only as a rasping whisper by Kakashi. "Haku, goodbye then." He breathed his last, a single tear trickling from his eye. The mist was clearing, and Kakashi could now see more clearly. Haku was dazed, struggling to get off the ground. Sakura looked like she had run a mile, struggling to stay on her feet. Naruto looked a bit tired, and certainly ragged, still with Sanban sticking out of him. Sasuke was down, but he was stirring, still alive. Tazuna was still alive too, but their troubles had not passed. As the mist cleared, a small army of ronin and mercenaries and general thugs appeared, with Gato at their head. "So, the so-called demon of the bloody mist is dead, eh? Good thing I didn't intend to pay him." So he was intending a double cross, Kakashi thought. He noticed that this news seemed to galvanize Haku, who got to his feet. "What?" Haku asked, his voice ragged, blinking. Kakashi had seen a brief strobe through the mist from Sakura's jutsu, so he must have been the target. Haku was trying to clear his dazzled eyes. The boy's face hardened. "You did not intend to pay us?" he asked. Gato scoffed. "Ninjas still affiliated with hidden villages are expensive. Rogue ninja are expendable, and you're all so eager to fight each other. You can kill each other, and the survivors are weakened to the point where my mercenaries can finish you off. Cheap and efficient, like any great business plan. Of course, your master was no demon, except maybe a squalling baby of a demon. And you, I will take great pleasure in extracting revenge for what you did to my hand." Haku went very still. To the untrained eye, it was hard to tell what was going on, whether it was fear or something else. But Kakashi knew that Haku had become enraged. Not the kind of rage that boils hot, but the sort that was as cold as ice. Like Haku's jutsus. "Kakashi Hatake," Haku said, turning to face him. He noted Zabuza's corpse detachedly, before meeting Kakashi's eyes. The normally warm brown eyes were dead and cold. "Our employer has seen fit to terminate his contract with us. Therefore, Tazuna is not my target anymore." Haku turned back to face Gato. To the odious little businessman, he wouldn't have seen any difference. Not yet. But soon he would. He felt the anger within him, like a blizzard. It was rare that he felt this way. The first time was when his father killed his mother. He stepped forward, blinking the last of the afterimages from Sakura's attack from his vision. "You wish to take revenge for your hand? Then come and get it." And then, he unleashed his killing intent. Judging by the darkening stain on Gato's trousers, along with that of many of his mercenaries, he had achieved the desired effect. "Protect me, you imbeciles!" Gato screamed, as he retreated behind the crowd of ruffians. As the mercenaries closed ranks, Haku struck, Saban flying. Mercenaries fell by the dozens as Haku struck with lightning speed, all with a lack of expression on his face. The only expression was in the cold, dead look to his eyes. Soon, he had decimated most of Gato's army, and was standing before the man himself, Gato's would-be protectors cowering away. "No, stand back!" Gato wailed. "I thought you wanted revenge, Gato," Haku said calmly, almost conversationally, stopping himself from wrinkling his nose at the smell coming from Gato's very expensive suit as he advanced. "I am here. Take your revenge if you can. Please, I'll give you anything you want. Offer me money." He threw Saban at one mercenary who grew too bold. Yes, power too, promise me that. Another Saban into a man's eye socket. All that I have. And more. Please, offer me everything I ask for. Anything you want. Haku darted forward, a Saban held to the hateful little man's eye, and another to his groin. I want my master back, you son of a bitch, he hissed. One. My master always said he would go to hell when he died. Join him there, and find out how much of a demon he truly is. And with that, he killed Gato. Probably too quick a death for the vile little man, but Haku didn't really care at that point. The next day, Sakura woke up, a little woozily. She found a pair of faces looking at her concerned. Memory came back to her. Shortly after Haku killed Gato, chakra exhaustion had caught up with her, and she had collapsed. She blinked, finding Kakashi and Haku, now clad in that pink kimono of his again, looking down at her, concerned. Haku, immediately, pushed a steaming cup into her hands. It's bitter, but it will help your chakra exhaustion, the androgynous boy explained. Sakura grimaced as she downed the concoction. It was bitter. Ugh, that was my reaction too, Kakashi said cheerfully. That was fairly reckless, Sakura, testing such a taxing technique on the battlefield. Sakura, after finishing the cup of medicine, sat up. Is everything all right? As much as can be expected, Kakashi said. Sasuke and Naruto were hovering by your bedside, but we've shooed them out. Naruto's guarding Tazuna's family, and Sasuke is guarding the bridge. Just in case Gato's men decide to take revenge. Haku decimated them, though. And Inari and many of the villagers are making sure that Gato's men don't try anything either. So we've won? Sakura asked. Gato is dead, and so, the threat to Tazuna's life is significantly lessened without him. We're staying until the bridge is completed, though, to be sure. It'll take another couple of weeks. Once that is settled, Tazuna's asked to help us with trade treaties with Fire Country. Sakura noted that he was tactfully avoiding mentioning the death of Zabuza around Haku, who still had that same cold, dead look to his eyes that he had when he massacred Gato's men. And Haku? Kakashi didn't answer for a bit, before he stood. I'll leave you two to talk it over. After he left, Sakura looked at Haku. What do you want to do from here? She asked. I don't know, Haku said bleakly. Zabuza's dream was to overthrow the Mizuki and stop the bloodline limit purges. But while I share that dream, I fear I cannot make it a reality, not alone, and not with Zabuza's other followers. Your teacher told me that Zabuza wished for me to come back with you. But what is there in Konoha for me? Acceptance, Sakura eventually ventured. When Haku looked at her sharply, she clarified. In Konoha, bloodline limits are accepted, even embraced. The Hyuga make their homes there. And Sasuke is the last loyal Uchiha. The main reason people would be worried about you is your master, not your own bloodline limit. Sakura got, unsteadily, to her feet, and put her hands on Haku's shoulders. And I know you're nothing like your master. I thought you had killed Sasuke, but you didn't. And for that, I am so grateful. You said you were nothing more than a tool for Zabuza, but I say you aren't. A tool doesn't think, it doesn't feel, it can't show mercy. We may be shinobi, we may have to hide our feelings, or kill when required, but we are not tools or weapons. We are human beings, capable of love, laughter, and loss. Sakura blinked, then said, Please tell me I wasn't too preachy there. Haku blinked as well, before a chuckle wormed its way from his lips. His eyes, cold and dull mere moments before, glittered with both sorrow and humor. You were, he said. Damn, Sakura muttered. Look, all I'm saying is, come back with us. Then, you can decide what to do from there. I'm not saying you shouldn't try and fulfill Zabuza's dream. If the Mizuki is really killing people just for having bloodline limits, then he shouldn't be in charge. But think about it first. Haku nodded. I think I shall. Perhaps it is time I found a dream to make my own. And another precious person to protect. He helped Sakura as she began shuffling towards the door. I believe Naruto will want to see you. He was most worried about you, as was Sasuke. Sakura smiled. I was worried about them both. By the way, Haku, back in the forest, why did you kiss me? Oh, sorry. I've never kissed a girl before, Haku admitted. I just wanted to try it. I believed a kiss on the lips would have offended you. Her forehead itched again, but Sakura resisted the urge to scratch. 2 weeks went by fast. The bridge was soon complete. Zabuza was buried, though at Haku's request, he was allowed to keep Zabuza's sword. Kakashi sealed it away in a sealing scroll. He also did the same to Zabuza's right hand. Normally, standard procedure when collecting bounties from the bingo book was to take the head, but out of respect to Haku, Kakashi took only the hand, as it had fingerprints, as well as a photo of Zabuza's corpse. Sakura realized that Sasuke had changed, and not quite for the better. He had, if anything, become even broodier and unapproachable. Sakura feared that his near-death experience had done something to his psyche. Perhaps it was his defeat, his reminder that he was still way below the level of his brother. And he glared often at Haku, especially when he was close to Sakura. Was he jealous? Sakura would have liked to believe that Sasuke was a friend, but had he started viewing her as something more? Or was it just because Haku had defeated him? One night, the night before they were due to leave, Tazuna, Tsunami, and Inari were debating whether the bridge should have a name. Inari suggested the Naruto Bridge. Sakura, who had come down to have a glass of water, was struck by a moment's inspiration. Naruto was a hero in many ways during the battle, defeating Haku. But Kakashi had killed Zabuza, and Sakura had stopped Haku from interfering with that. Sasuke had fought long and hard and with the utmost tenacity. And Haku had killed Gato and his minions, thus lifting the weight of tyranny from Wave Country. But there was one hero who had made the supreme sacrifice. And when Sakura suggested it, Inari and Tsunami began crying, and Tazuna solemnly agreed that perhaps it was the best name. It was the name of a hero, the name of Inari's stepfather, the name of a man who was willing to lay down his life to save others, even though he was no shinobi. And so the bridge was named the Great Kaiser Bridge, too. Naruto was a bit disappointed that he didn't get the bridge named after him, but he conceded quite gracefully that Kaiser deserved that honor. The day it was dedicated, Team 7, along with Haku, departed, parting on good terms with Tazuna and his family. And the bridge would stand as a symbol of freedom and friendship. It could have been a sign of things to come, a good sign. In reality, it was far from the truth.